Hello and welcome to the Nollywood Film Club podcast. I'm Mr. C, and today we are going to be listening to episode 3, My Village People. This was a fun one, a one that I missed the first 15 to 20 minutes ish of this because I was unconscious. Some people say that I fell asleep, but unconscious is, if you think about it, more accurate. So Mrs. C is hosting the first few minutes of this. I think I do take over because obviously you guys want me to, you trust me, and have no trust in Mrs. C, even though she's very much capable host, as she proves on this. But I do take cover. But this discussion was very much fun. Shout out to the people who worked on that came on to listen to feedback. It's not always easy, and I don't remember too much pushback on my on on um on our TL. So thanks for this, and apologies for any spaces issues you might hear. I've tried to remove as many as I can, but please enjoy Nollywood Film Club discussing My Village People.
So it looks like I'm hosting today. I'm the less fun one here. Don't tell him I said that. So we're just going to make a go of it and see where we can go. So we have Scarecrow up, Elizabeth Oyinka. Anyone else who wants to talk about the film, please request to speak and we will pass it on to you. So welcome to Nollywood Film Club. If you don't want to speak, by the way, and you still want to just talk about it, you can tweet your thoughts on the film or on anything going on in the space with hashtag Nollywood Film Club, and we'll pin some tweets and read some of them out, and hopefully no one attacks anyone over your tweets. So, the usual format, we start with the good, we move on to the bad, or the things we didn't like as much, and then we have a bit of a summary round. So, who is willing to go first today? Elizabeth, you requested to speak first. So, My Village People, what were your goods?
Okay. So I feel like I like and hate this movie in equal measure. So yeah, I will tell you what I really like about this film. So first, I love parody movies. Like I love parody movies. So from Princess Bride, Mega Mind, scary movies, So when I started watching this film, the first few scenes, I didn't know what was going on. But then when I saw the back of the three witches, I thought, wait, is it Ocus Pocus? But then I realized that I don't think this movie is Ocus Pocus. I think this movie is a parody of every single
Mm-hmm.
Nigerian Winchy Winchy movie out there. So I think that was a very good one. And I didn't know that the major parody this movie was going to spoof, the major film this movie was going to spoof was Yemi My Lover. Anyways, let me keep going. So, but what I love the most is that it had the this movie really has the potential to be like the best parody movie out of this industry, because by the time we got to that cosmic man with the GPS mirror thing, we
Mm-hmm.
were already watching After School Hours with that street business. Like you can see that this is basically After School Hours with that puff thing when they told you don't tell somebody will come and call you at night. So I thought like this is really good. And this movie had like a lot of all these spoof moments, right? Like when he made when Nkemo was character made Prince wear raincoats to stop Ame from finding Prince, because of the old water thing.
Yeah.
I thought was that genius thing, like then naming their kids Prince and Princess after like village movies.
Yeah.
I just thought that like nah, this has so much potential. Like then when it was asked, why are you so interested in knowing your parents' history? And he goes, oh, I'm just doing my ancestry.com. Then which was like when the witches started doing, like when they broke out into like a bar fight,
Yeah.
when he said I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody, see that part. I was like, nah, something is going on in this movie. It's supposed to be good. So Really, I think this movie had the potential to be a really good spoof movie, right? Like they were just spoofing things that they could just put together. I thought it was a it was it was a bold idea. I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was a really, something out of the norm, and the idea wasn't so bad. And I don't know if a lot of people had watched, like, I don't know if it's popular, but it was Yoruba movie thing at that time. The guy used to spoof other movie. He was called Yemi, so he used to do a lot of Yemi my lover, Yemi the mood thing. But this movie was like the biggest, was spoofing Yemi my lover, because in Yemi my lover, he fell in love with a girl, a marine world in the sea, which the guy too was spoofing Splash.
Mm-hmm.
Splash was like a popular movie as at that time. So I think that so in Yemi My Lover, I liked somebody in the marine world, and then there was a Babalawo that I went to go and meet, and the Babalawo now wanted his daughter to marry him, and there was a part where the daughter was chasing. So I don't know if anybody was saying Yemi My Lover. Well, it's a Yoruba thing, so probably remember this. So I think that this is what that movie really did, like try to parody Yemi My Lover, and then just added any other thing that was amazing and put it into this. So apart from it being a really good, a potentially really good parody movie, um another positive I liked is the pidgin that was spoken. So I don't anybody that is, well, for listeners of Film Club, we've had like a couple of movies that we didn't like the pidgin that was spoken in the past. So one thing I really liked about this one was that, the relatability, and then how smooth all the speakers were. So, like, people may not think it is a positive, but we've watched a couple of movies in the past that it was just, we're all complaining about the pigeon being bad. And then I thought that some of the sound effects were really good. Like when Akanani's character came to give Bovi condom and he goes confirm. I thought that really first part, I thought, in line with a parody movie, right? In line with what parody movies are supposed to be, I thought, some of the sound effects, um, some of the sound effects were good, at least in the beginning. I don't know about the end, but well, that's what I really like overall in this movie. Thank you.
You have a good list. I think I will definitely agree with you on the potential of it. It is quite mixed feelings about this film, but yeah, I feel like it did have a lot of potential. I feel like there was something there, premise wise and story wise, and that could have been done better. But we'll move on from there. All right. Who do we have next? Oyinkan's next. Oyinkan, you joined after Elizabeth. Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
You like?
Yeah. y- I am kind of the same way as Elizabeth because this movie clearly, like, I think movie. Did he write this movie?
Yes.
Yes, because I like that. I think he has clear talent for like comic writing,
Mhm.
but no, that's going to be in the bad. So I think this movie has very many entertaining moments. Very, it has a clear story through, and those are some of the things I like about the movie. It was funny. They were very like more situation. Like it's not because some of the Nigerian comedy movies, right? They've gotten to, especially if they're very bad at comedy, they do just ridiculous things that tends
Mhm.
to be very classist. And I know I keep on pointing out that it's classist
Yeah.
because a lot of Nigerian comedy does come from from classism and like it's really, it's like if you think about it, it's actually very offensive and very insulting to do that to those. So they tend to come to that type of comedy. It's not. It's a very pushing down on the person below you type of comedies in some of the movies, right? But like Ghost, I don't want to say Ghost and the Tower, but the movies that like you might see Tony Imako in, even if it's not classist, sometimes it can be a very sexist movie. It can be very sexist jokes, right? those things tend to have that. But like, I'm not saying this movie doesn't have a few of it. It does,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of the comedy does come from like, oh, just funny situations. Like you're just the situation of how somebody will react, how people react to things, what people say. How, it's just it doesn't drag it doesn't um take the comedy of the situation from just looking down at people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one good thing, and it's not too out. It's outrageous, but it's like it works within the story. But it's not too out. It's not too out. It's not just ridiculously outrageous. I don't know if anybody has watched this like one Yoruba movie, right? Or what that woman. I've forgotten the actresses, but I know it's a famous Pasuma was in the movie, right? And she's playing the wife of Pasuma. All what she did throughout that movie was yell, and that was the comedy for me. Like she, like nobody touched her husband. She was yelling. She was even yelling at the sister of the husband. Like it was just like it made no sense. It was supposed to be funny. This is what I mean by like the writer or whoever wrote it. That is a clearly sexist movie because it's just making whatever. But so those type of things. That's one thing I just want to give a praise for this movie doing. Um, you could see. I like the fact that they had is it ambition? The sound effects, right? They put the sound effects in the right places. I have other issues with it, but this if you do sound effects in the right places, so that's one good thing I like about the movie. Like it went above and beyond with the sound effects, in good ways and in bad ways. But we're talking about the good here.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you can clearly see that this movie takes, the director knows about Nollywood and knows about the tropes in Nollywood, and it clearly takes all those things from just, like Elizabeth said, it's movies that if you are into Nollywood, if you know, well, even if you don't know, you can clearly see those. It takes those inspirations from that. It is an occultism that is natural, that is known to Africans. It is the occult in it is an African occultism. Let me be more direct. I don't mean it's an African occultism. What I mean is like it's an occultism that's very direct to Nollywood. Like
Mm-hmm.
this, the aesthetics of those occultism that it shows are very Nollywood inspired. These are the aesthetics of Nollywood that Nollywood has. Now, I'm not going to say it's an African occultism because real life is very different than Nollywood. But like those things are pretty good, and I like the fact that you can because of that you can see that, oh, this person has an affection for Nollywood. They're not trying to go be some American movie or something like that. Like this person knows some of his Nollywood history. For instance, the man made Spirit, right? The cast, the actress that cast for it. I know her. I can't remember names.
Sophie.
Um, Sophie. Yeah,
Sophia
the
Laka.
actor. Yeah, that
Sophia
actress. Right?
Lakija.
Alakija.
Sophia
Oh,
Lakija.
Sophia Lakija. Thank you,
Yeah.
Sophia Lakija. She's casted as the Mamin spirit because, of course, or if you go back to 90s of Nollywood, right? What were the Mamin spirit always casted by? Light, very light skin. And then we get the witches, all those witches turning into birds. That's a Nollywood thing. It's in Nollywood that happens. Even people in Nigeria go like, the witches turning into bird. The old women with the three old women witches. That's very very mythological, and you can see all this like inspirations from just the narratives and the stories that we tell ourselves and all that stuff. And that was very cool. Even the witch, right? The witch is dark skin, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. I like the fact that they gave the witch a red color when she's doing a magical thing, and then the Mamin spirit, the blue one, to clearly tell you that before all those things. So those little brief of inspiration, like it actually tried in cinema language, and it actually tried those things, and it's taken inspiration from just not myths, from mythology, from Nollywood, like witchy and wizard movies, aesthetics and all those things, and it plus Bovie's sometimes very brilliant writing in many comic writing. I think it puts together. Those are the good things I like about this movie.
Okay, thank you. So you know, who knows when Mr. C is going to join, but I'm just going to piggyback off that to say he did like the comedy as well. He quite enjoyed the comedy in this, and well, Bovie wrote it obviously, so he he is quite a good comedic writer. I will say the comedy didn't land as much for me, but if I approach it as a as a parody, which I failed to do in my first watch, then I imagine the comedy would land a bit more for me if I do a second watch. Um, but yeah, I did like the things that the detail put into the separating the witches versus the marine spirits. Like, you know, in Nigeria say somebody find like Mami Water, and it's all the marine spirits. They were always like they're supposed to be like bad bitches. You get, and I liked that the witches were in black because Nigerian witches are boring and always in black, and the Mami Waters they always had the colorful hair, the all dressed up, looking really glam and pretty, and I thought that was good detail to have. All right, thanks, Oyinka. I have Scarecrow next. Should I call you Scarecrow?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
Scarecrow works.
so what did you
Okay,
think?
okay. So to be honest, there've been a lot of movies that have been out on Netflix recent times, and first of all, this movie engaged me because I I watched this movie like 1 a.m. and I couldn't believe I actually watched it for the entire length without any distractions because the story was enjoyable, even though it could be chaotic a lot of times. And I loved the comedy. I enjoyed the comedy. It didn't feel forced. And certain elements, as the previous speakers have said, the parody, especially in Kemuwa's house with the whole Google Maps thing, that thing just killed me. It's because it was late at night. Not, I would have practically screamed in my house. Some of the acting wasn't bad. I'm actually impressed with Bovie's performance. To be honest, I didn't know. Yes, he does his stage performance as a comedian well, but I was really impressed with his acting. His acting was really impressive. And yes, one thing I have to say I'm happy about this movie. Our favorite feature actor did not feature in this movie. What, do you want to take a guess what our favorite feature actor in Hollywood movies are?
I refuse to take a guess, but I will
Lekki
accept that.
Lekki Koito Bridge. Lekki Toll Bridge.
Damn, we've been just for complaining about that bridge, but I
Yeah,
guess
so
it
they didn't have to feature it in this movie. So
yeah,
we give
half
them
the
props
half
for
the
that.
film was not in Lagos, and I guess
Yeah,
it would have been easy
yeah.
to throw in the bridge to signify that we're back to Lagos, but we were still able to identify we're back in Lagos without having that. So I guess yeah. All right.
So that's a positive for them. Then I think one other thing I enjoyed was the special effects. It wasn't heavy. Like I think so the people doing the special effects recognized their limits and they didn't try to force it so that it doesn't stand out as bloated or looks bad. They try to keep it simple, so that's another props I'll give to them. The audio was slightly good, but when we get to the bad, I'm going to speak about the audio. Maybe but when I spoke to someone else, I don't know if it's what was released to Netflix that was the problem, because they said in the cinema the audio was good. So, but anyways, when we get to the bad, I will talk about it. Costume wasn't bad. Costume wasn't bad. The shots, the cinematography wasn't bad. Everything about this movie was really good. And during the daylight, I like the use of colors. I like the use of the colors. The color saturation was somewhat okay. And again, back to the special effects, I really liked how they pulled off the brain thing, especially with the marine spirit. When the
Mm-hmm.
marine when the marine spirit is doing a thing, I felt it. I felt it. Though I felt they could do better with the whole incantation.
Yeah.
When yeah, I felt they could do better with the whole incantation. But all in all, great movie. I enjoyed it. It was very good use of my midnight hours. So yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, I'm not sure who's next. Cynthia, are you next?
What?
Are you next, Cynthia?
Oh, okay, yeah, it's fine. I can go next.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I can go next. Yes, like everyone have said, the movie had potential. Like I could see that they have an idea of children of the soil versus children of the water. But I don't know if I don't think they executed the idea they have very well. Now to my likes, yes, I agree the pigeon was good. But I also think almost everyone that spoke pidgin were from Delta State, so
Yeah.
I so I expected it to be good. So I expected the pidgin to be good. Yeah. So now to the sound. So I remember last week and I complained about the last week movie that they could not keep what was sacred. They were all playing cool music even in ritual scenes. So even though this movie had loud sound and bad audio, they actually tried to do good with the sound. Like when I needed to feel something, I felt something. So I'll give it to them. Then I also like some of the music they played, like when Nani Aka was taking Bobby from the village to the airport before he met that woman. Before he met the woman, the music that were playing sounded like all this quiet music that my mom used to disturb us when we were young. So so I actually like some of the music they played. Then the comedy was good. I mean when I got to the pastor and they didn't have money and they said dice star 901 hash, I actually had a good laugh. Also, when Sophie slapped Zubi Michael, the pastor, I also
Yeah.
had a very, very good laugh. I also like the coven. Okay, I also like how the efforts they put in decorating the coven and also the effort Kim was using with the plantain leaf or banana leaf. I mean, I appreciate the effort. I also appreciated the effort in the water. So whenever the marine spirits come in, they always try to put the thunderstorm, the raining. Like, yes, I'll give them an applause for trying to go with that. Then for acting, I mean, for me, the best person was a guy, Teresa Edem.
You know,
So I really loved her acting. Like when she was going to be in the mood, she was in the mood. When she wanted to be happy, she was happy. Although there was one scene that took me out. Yeah, I felt they wanted to be comedy when she came in and she was laughing outside. I mean, after Sophie had interrogated her and Zubi Michael was under punishment when she like ran out. I actually laughed. That was the only acting that took me off, but her acting was really good. Then I also like Frances Sule, the young Joe in the office. I felt like where he appeared, he did what he was going to do very well. Then among the three witches, I like Ada Ame and Rachel more, and God bless their soul. Then I also like Aka Nani, the driver in this movie. I felt he did very well as a driver. I liked Kim O. Then for Bobby, so at the beginning of the movie, Bobby really gave us the South man vibes.
I know what you.
It gave us the South man vibes. Like I could feel it. I could feel it. Like I was like, okay, yes, you are really representing your people. And yes, it was able to carry it, although sometimes it slacked. But I felt like it did very well in bringing out the South man vibe. But then again, it's still from Delta State. But the role was to be like that, and he was able to like do it. So yes, I'll give him an applause. For Charles Inoji, is just because it's like my one of my elder brother favorite. So it just have to appear. It just have to appear in my acting. Then Sophia Lakija. So it's not like she over impressed me. It's just like I had another perspective of her acting. So seeing her here, I was like, okay, I can see a lot of improvement. When Elizabeth was talking about her last week, I didn't buy it. But then again, I don't watch a lot of Nollywood movies. But I also felt she did the role she was meant to do in a very good level. Then finally Venita. So at the beginning, when Venita was talking to Bobby, don't lie, don't touch anybody, don't do everything, I felt she did so well. But when she came back at the ending, during the Mami,
Yeah,
as the chosen one of the Marine spirit, I don't even know what happened. I just felt this acting is this she's not being in character. It was like she was just reading the script. But just for the first time she appeared, she's also in my acting good list. And yes, so yeah, that's what I like about the movie. I can see that they have a good idea for children of the soil versus children of the water. I don't know. I don't think they executed the idea very well, but the movie still had a lot of good things.
thank you, Cynthia. That was very comprehensive. Love it. Um, I who did we have next? Oh yeah, I think you're next. Hello.
Hello, sorry.
Yeah. So, what
I,
did you
for-
like?
I forgot to unmute. I actually agree with a lot of what has been said. I definitely appreciate the attempt at humor in many parts. Some didn't land, but there were some that I saw what they were doing and I was like, okay, I see where this is going. I didn't know Bovi wrote this movie actually. So I think it makes more sense in retrospect.
Mhm.
The second thing that I liked was the I maybe redemption is too strong of a word, but I like the fact that the witch character Haggai was sort of redeemed, and I think redeemed. I also think her character was a little bit more well better written than a lot of the others. Maybe even better written than the main character.
I
I might
think
be going wrong, but I
that.
think
Yeah.
hard was the best, the most well developed character. Especially given what this movie was trying to be. I'm not quite sure. But I'll talk about that later. Then one another thing that played into that was you said her name was Theresa Edem, right? I didn't even know her name, but I liked her acting, especially in the first part of the movie. I could really feel her desperation. um, I didn't understand certain choices, but I think some things paid off later on, and I think she did a good job as well as the writing. Both things came together to make that character. That was one of the reasons why I actually kept watching the movie. That's one of the things that I think gave the movie, what would you call it? Vim.
Mhm.
um then I kind of liked the portrayal of different manifestations of witchcraft. So you have the people in the village, and then you also have like the ones that you can Google, like the professor played by Nkemo. Um, I didn't actually think of this movie as a parody, but I'm interested in watching it again with that lens and sort of seeing if I can experience it differently. But I still liked, seeing those different types of witchcraft. I appreciated that the story like went straight to the point. There was no dilly dallying in the beginning. It just sort of jumped right in. I really, really appreciated that. And then I liked some of the rules of the spiritual world in that regard. So, I think Cynthia also mentioned this with regards to, water, water, ordinary water versus salt water pertaining to, what would imply that the mami waters or the mermaids are around. And that the witches are sort of not as powerful as the mermaids. There was sort of a hierarchy that was established, and I appreciated that. Um, I liked, like someone also said, the banana leaves. That was, a good. I like when there are rules in any like supernatural kind of context in a movie, because if you're gonna build a world, we have to understand the rules around it. And then the fact that there were different levels to witchcrafts, that was good to know as well. Yeah, I think yeah, those are the main things that I liked about the movie. I overall I think it tried to be funny, and it I think I think there were a lot of things that it tried to do well, and that it could have done really well. And I appreciate the attempts, but there were certain things that held it back. But overall, I really appreciated this movie. It was very entertaining to watch.
Okay, thank you, Onyinye. And welcoming my favorite troll and recalcitrant co-host, Mr. C. Hello.
Hello. Sorry, I'm late.
You'll pay fine. Anyway, would you like to take over?
Mr. C, are you cinema pointers?
I just want to ask that question too.
Like I
Alright.
are you
Are
explain
you
this?
kidding?
Are you going to explain this account?
Alright. Okay. We can tell the OGs obviously know what's going on. So just the short answer is no. This is cinema pointers, right? Not cinema pointer. There's a difference. And if you look at our logo very
Like the
carefully,
movie.
actually, yes, yes, exactly. This is an actual parody of Summer Point. It says so in the bio. But yes, that's the short
I
answer.
can't, honestly. Sorry.
You know,
Yeah, it's
if
hilarious.
I didn't realize there's an S different. I
I
just was
wanted to sound violent. We know how to make fun of critics too. It's doable on all sides. Everybody can get it, even us.
Yes,
Um,
we do get it. All right. So, we have Oluwakamsi. I think you were supposed to go like a few people ago, but we keep losing you from the speakers.
I think my mom keeps calling me. Sorry.
Okay. Are you ready?
Okay. I think I like everything, almost everything everyone has said. Um, Things that stood out for me. I think the acting, almost everyone did well. Even the extras, they did well. Sophie and Teresa, they didn't overshadow each other, and they like Sophie did well in this one. I've seen other films, and oh my god, uh, uh, I've seen her other films, and she did well. She did well in this one. Teresa also did well. I like how they paid attention to details. Like I I really even though the story didn't grow well, but I really wanted to see what would end the movie, and the aesthetics were very okay for me. The art design, I like how they did the professor's apartment. I like how they did that. Um, the picture quality is okay. The cinematography is okay. The whole thing about the when Mami Water when they come around and everything will start raining. I think I like that. And I like the three wishes. Rachel Oniga and colleagues, colleagues. I like how they were directed, especially when they were standing by the window, by the windows. I like how they did that part. I was amazed. Like I like everything about those characters. Um, what else? I like okay. I said the casting. The casting was done well. Like how they paid attention to the mermaid. I would not like the mermaids are quite beautiful. They are like but I think
But
at the point I knew that this is it Benita or is it Vanessa? I don't know her name. I knew she would be a mermaid because even when I saw her, I was like, this lady is pretty. She's very pretty. At the point I knew that she would be a mermaid because I remember she was saying, do not hug anyone, do not hug anyone. That was the moment I knew, oh God, this is where we are going. So I like the casting. I like almost everything about the movie, even though the story, the development is So I really like it. I like it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. C, do you want to piggyback, contribute anything? No?
Sure. Rotimi's comment. Has he said his
No, Rotimi hasn't spoken. We have Otas, we have Mel, then we have Rotimi.
Okay. Okay. I guess if I was going to piggyback off something, I didn't. Someone has spoken about some people have spoken about the comedy, and it's something I really liked about this is that the comedy is a little bit more mature than we're used to getting in our Nollywood movies. It's not just physical comedy, and it's funny, we did this exercise where Mrs. C and I discussed the movie after we finished watching it, and then we checked who the writer and the director was, and it was interesting to see, but like also kind of revealing. But yes, I think Bovie is clearly good at comedy, and that mature type of comedy comes out, and he was able to write things like I think Lua Kamishi said about the witches, the way they were introduced and things like that. So yeah, that was I actually agree a lot with that. But yeah, I won't get into my side, but Rotimi, do you want to give us the things you liked about My Village People?
Okay.
What?
The-
Yeah.
you.
What? There's a queue.
Yeah, people before me, oh, please
We
let me
have
go back
Why?
back of
we
the
have Mel.
queue.
Why? Why
Back
you
of the
go?
queue.
All right. Okay. Sorry.
Otas, would you like to tell us what you liked about My Village People? Hello? Am I the only one that can't hear Otas?
I think she's
I can't see outside too.
still on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still on mute.
She's probably busy.
Okay. Mel then. Mel, would you like to tell us what you liked? Imagine I fought for this queue now and nobody's still here.
I'm here.
Okay.
I considered protesting. But yeah. What did I like? Sorry.
Like
Wow.
Mel.
What did I
Please, Mel.
what did I like about it? I thought it was really exciting for me to have magic on my screen. Ah, I really enjoyed that. And I think also especially because usually with Nollywood, when you have any engagement with the metaphysical, it would end more religiously, and none of that happened. Like there wasn't a magic bad,
Mm-hmm.
religion good at the end. Let's save somebody. So I really like that. I really enjoyed that. Um, I liked the lore of it, the thing about his father, his mother. I have concerns about it. Don't get me wrong, but just the fact that like it felt expansive. Everyone else has talked about like just the rules of the. I think this was Omini, but a few other people as well talked about the rules of the world. Just existing. It just made it feel so much more substantial to me. So I really enjoyed just that appearing on my screen. The fighting between the witches and the marine spirits as well was really exciting to me. I enjoyed that. I agree with you, Mrs. C, about the comedy of it. I laughed out loud though. I really did in many, many places. But I don't think I laughed for the same reasons that the film was trying to get me to laugh for, if that makes any sense. Like I laughed for my own reasons. It wasn't like the comedy was hitting for me, but like I had a good experience. Like I was laughing and What else did I like about it? There were some really great shots. Oluwakamisi talked about the shot of the three witches. I really like that. I think that was like my first. That's a really beautiful shot. Whether or not it carried on, like that's the spirit of that shot carried on throughout the rest of the film. That's a different matter. But that shot in particular, I thought was really beautiful. Um, Other shots that I thought were really nice on the eyes were there's a particular establishing shot of a bridge, the bridge with the lights and the cars. That was such a beautiful shot. I thought it was so beautiful just to look at. I think also that when Professor Pyom and Prince were outside of Indio's house
Mm-hmm.
and were hiding on both sides of the window. As Indio comes in, that initial moment that he just comes before he walks to the window, that initial moment that he comes in, and it's sort of like his silhouette in the window. That compiled with the colors outside on the raincoat and on Professor Pyom's Ankara jacket. Like I thought, like just that looked really great as well. I think that's about it for me. Those are the things that I enjoyed about it. For me, I think top was just the magic and how it was treated. I really, really, truly enjoyed that.
Thank you, Mel. I do agree. I remember seeing some shots that I thought, oh yeah, that's definitely an attempt at framing. I like how it looks, and I remember that window shot specifically. It was kind of recreated when the witches were looking for Prince and Professor what's his face as well, when they were standing on either side of that door in the uncompleted building, and we had the witches on the other side. But yeah, thank you, Mrs. C.
Okay, our host, what do you want me to say? My good? Is this
No, this is hosting duties.
okay? No, I mean I agree. Yeah, I think it looked very. I thought the cinematography was good. I do. I thought there was a lot of thought in the way some of the shots were planned out. Yeah, so I agree.
Okay, and now Rotimi, what did you like?
I guess sure it's my turn. I think there was supposed to be one more person.
I don't know where she is, so you're up.
Okay, so first things first, I would say RIP to Rachel Niga and Adame. I think it just kind of like hits me again, like because Adame just passed away just this week that we just got to. I was just like I was watching the movie and it kind of hit me later that oh I'm watching one of our performances. So RIP to both of them. First of all, I like the idea. I like the premise. No, the premise of the story is actually sound,
Yeah.
and it's almost like when you watch foreign movies and the mystical or the supernatural happens. The reason why it happens is because the Igbo people don't believe in jazz, so we believe. But what happened was that Bovi on the whole, I'm not coming back to this village. I just came here for because of this event. I don't do anything to anybody. So nobody can harm me. So because I'm not harming anybody, I'm like okay. And I was just looking at Teresa Adams' character, and I'm like looking at Bobby eyeing this babe, and I'm like, guy, this girl is wearing black in the freaking night, eyeing you. Nothing Susie, and she's speaking one word. Guy, do not touch this babe. But Bobby is actually such a funny comedian. Like I don't even think he's trying to be funny. He just looks funny. Everything he says and does, just by mentioning without naturally pushing himself too far, just looks funny. Um, there's a particular scene when Teresa comes into when Bovi went to Sophia Alakija's apartment, where now like he like she busts in, then you had this whole effect with the red on her eyes, then the wind blowing. And I was like, okay, this is very horror film. That scene actually like stood out for me in terms of the visual effects. I was like, okay, that effect looked very, very, very looked well done. Also like when Bovi was with the War and they went to the three witches' place and they told them to hold their hands so that they could send them to teleport them to another place, and both of them didn't want to agree, and it kind of like pointed them out, and I'm like, okay, this effect of them just like disappearing them actually looked kind of nice and everything. The there's a kind of mythology that they had, or mythology of the whole thing with the whole conflict between the Mami Waters and the witches and everything. And Bobby caught in the middle. It's a nice idea. I don't know how far I can say about the execution, but as per idea on paper, reading it off paper, it's actually a very incredible idea and premise. Um, and you have to always give the people props for attempting to bring it to life. So, yeah, and is there anything? Yes, Zuby Michael. I don't know how anybody that I think Mel was mentioning how she would thank God that it didn't end up in a religious place. I think that it still ended up in a religious place, just that it came that Zubimaka was one of those fake pastors and they were trying to extort Bovi. And by the time the real witches showed up and they slapped him and told him to face the wall, kneel down and hands up and face the wall, I'm like, okay, this is like the height of, like, you understand, like, no disrespect to any religious person, but pastors in the mud, fake pastors in the mud, like, I'm like, okay, what else again? What else again? What else again? Let's Nollywood keeps on. Yeah, Nollywood. Let's keep moving on. We have to put out content, another content on the Netflix platform. More grease to elbows to everybody creating content to put on the platform. More grease to Netflix. They need content. They put content there. Everybody, nice one. Well done. Keep it up. I think that's my own take. I don't know if I even want to be around for the bad before, because at the rate we are going, somebody's going to come for my head in this Nollywood, and I don't want anybody. I like my head. If I say what's in my true heart of hearts, there will be war. I'm almost nearing Mr. C at this point, and I'm like, I don't want to be like Mr. C, but it's getting very close. I'm sorry. That's all I have to say.
Defend yourself.
Man.
There's big dreams. You don't want to become Mr. Saber. You will see.
Give it time.
You recognize this is a calling. One does not choose to be this. All right. Okay. Mrs. E, do you? I think that's everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first about the things you like?
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with like a good amount of the points that have already been made. I've said this before, I liked the distinction between the witches and the marine spirits, and how the marine spirits were, always dressed up and flashy, and it just seems in theme with the image of marine spirits in Nigeria. And yeah, I'm going to repeat that I liked that they had the rules of the worlds and the law and all of that stuff around there. The premise was something. The premise was something. I liked the premise a lot. Execution is a whole other story, but I liked the premise. What else? What else did I like? I think I've missed out. On a few things. But yeah, I liked the premise. Oh yeah, the actor who played Haggai. I liked her. I liked her a lot. I really enjoyed her actually, and yeah, I think that's about it. Mr. C?
Oh.
Yep. Mr. C.
Sorry, I'm just having all of the issues right now with technology. But okay, I missed some of the things that you said because the call came in. I'm sure you said wonderful things. Sorry if I repeat anything that's already been mentioned. I haven't been on my game today. Apologies. But I've got a list there. I did make a list for things that I liked, which. So I thought the acting in this was generally good. I thought Bovie's first half performance is very good. I think Bovie reminds me of a Basil Fawlty from Fawlty Towers. I know many people might not know that show, but it's it's this ability to make up lies and excuses when he gets caught red-handed, and for the lies to not be completely stupid. Like, like usually when people want to make up excuses and lies in films, they make it something that is completely unbelievable. But my guy is actually very good at lying. Like, if we didn't just obviously know that he was lying, it would be worth buying into. But that's part of like Bovie's acting chops. Like, so I think Bovie's acting in the first half of this I actually really enjoyed. I've talked about the comedy being something that I really enjoy too. Some of the filmmaking isn't perfect, but I enjoy many aspects of it. Something that I don't know, maybe we'll have huge disagreements is I kind of like the audio in this. Okay, now hear me out. It's not perfect by any means, and all of the because I spoke with Mrs. C and I said this, and she said, well, it was bad, poorly mixed at places, and that's true as well. However, I couldn't help but just be thankful, and maybe this is what happens when you listen to so much bad Nigerian audio for so long that you'll accept this as an improvement. But the audio we got from this was not giving lapel mic audio. And I don't know how to say this in any way that might be particularly meaningful other than I know when there's a feel when I watch other movies where I feel like somebody is speaking really too close to the mic, and it's almost like I feel like I call it like the lapel mic effect. Like, it's when somebody's holding the mic too close and is sounding unoriginally close to the mic, and there's just a lack of it doesn't feel it takes me out because it feels all I can hear is somebody being too close to a mic. I don't know how to explain this properly in audio terms, but in this, it sounded like I was just in the room with them, hearing them as they were saying the words that they were saying. Yes, sometimes it's not mixed properly and all of that. And I think as the what do you call it? I think as the film goes into the lower third, they might start using lapel mics because it gets back into normal Nollywood territory. But I really appreciated that first bit. I really did. I was like, oh, look, we can do this without. Again, I'm not even sure if they didn't use lapel mics or they just adjusted it properly. It sounded to me like they used a boom mic, and it's just the sound just sounded normal. And with this was backed by like there was a lot of good ambient sounds. Like, so when they're in restaurants, like I can hear the sounds of people within that context and within that restaurant. Like, right, I can hear them a little bit clearer, but like I know they're part of the restaurant. It's just a good part of storytelling that the background you're in plays into it. A lot of times there's either number one, I guess we just find somewhere quiet and we put our actors and they don't hear of these things. But I was like, oh yes, I'm really feeling this vibe. I really do believe that they're in a restaurant, right? Again, it's part of good storytelling. What else that somebody probably else hasn't said? The sound design, there's some good parts as well. It's not also great. There's still footsteps that I don't know why we'd be doing footsteps like this, but I thought the sound design on this is better than I've had in a lot of Nollywood films. A lot of these things is just like relatively just contextual. My appreciation for the technical stuff in here is relative to some of the Nollywood things that we've seen. And again, it's not even amongst the whole film. It's especially in the first half mainly. But yeah, I enjoyed those aspects, but yeah, those were the things that I enjoyed that I'm not sure. I haven't had too much people echo from the side. That said, Mr. Shall we go to the bad?
Yeah, let's.
Okay. I'm sure this is going to be a quick session. I'm very interested in the Elizabeth's theory of this being a parody. I definitely got the vibe that it was a horror comedy, close to something and Edgar Wright would do with, obviously, but like I'm not saying anywhere near that kind of thing, but yes, I'd certainly go was like a horror comedy, and there are aspects of it, I guess it's spoofing, but I wouldn't. It didn't seem to me like it was a parody on actual the main subject that it's tackling. But I don't know. I'm happy to be wrong. But anyway,
Yeah, do you want me to explain this parody thing?
yes.
Okay, so like I said, when I started watching it, when they showed us the back of the Three Witches, I thought Hocus Pocus, right? But it was not Hocus Pocus. It was Agbaranla, Ultimate Power. You guys, so I don't know. I feel like probably a lot of people didn't grow up watching Yoruba movies, but this movie really spoofed Yemi My Lover. And I don't know if any other person saw it because that was what I saw. And then I knew this movie it was spoofing as it could spoof. And I don't know really how to explain it. Yemi My Lover was very popular in the 90s, 96, 97, 94, like in Southwest, in Lagos. Yemi, my lover, the guy's name is Yemi, and he does all these ridiculous Yemi in the Moon, Yemi stuff, Yemi blah, blah, blah movies, where he spoofs like Onyibo movies. So he did a movie called Yemi, my lover, where he spoofed Splash. Splash was also popular then, but somebody finding somebody from the sea and then. But in Yemi, my lover, he found the girl in the marine world. He fell in love. And then there was this Babalawo that wanted him to marry his daughter, which is Haggai here. And so now we are having, when I saw it, at first I didn't see I saw the Haggai part because Haggai started chasing him. And then in Yemi My Lover, there was a part where there's this popular song where I really can't see the song there, but I really don't know how to explain this. And then what confirmed this as a spoof for me was when somebody gave him sweets and he ate it, and then it was called to the world. Come on, that was after school hours. Puff, puff. Like really, it was spoofing things that we've been seeing in Nigeria movies, the tropes, like when you name your kid Prince and Princess, Nkemowo, the old GPS thing, locating things, what else did this? It spoofed a lot of moments to raincoat so that they don't find the inside water, the witches having bar fights. Why do you want to find your parents' history? It's just my ancestry.com. Come on. If for me, it worked, and I'm sure that it probably asked the scriptwriter. They'll tell you that this is it. Well, I may be wrong, but it was a lot of spoofing going on, and I think that was what I really liked. And then look at the Three Witches. The Three Witches going together like the Hocus Pocus thing, but in the sense of the Arometa as per Agbaranla, Ultimate Power. It was just so it was mocking a lot of our movies, the ridiculous witch movies that we've had in the past, the witches, like that, them turning into bats, that old bird thing. I thought and that was what made it funny for me, the parody, the parody link, because I could see it. So I don't know why everyone else did. And then when he needed to see a guy again, I had to put sweets in his mouth. Come on. Okay.
I noticed a lot of the things, but I wouldn't have thought them as spoofing. Like noticing like a lot of the tropes that we use. It's certainly I think what kept me up called it a salad of old and new Nollywood, and that's acknowledging, right, that there are parts of these films that are familiar that we've seen before. But like, spoofing it would be, building something off of it that either, that says something new, right? If not, it's just like building on the ideas, right? Like
No,
if
but
make fun of.
parody movies don't. No, not all parody movies are like scary movies. You have like Princess Bride, which is like a spoof of all Happily Ever After. What's it called? You have Megamind, which is like a spoof on Superman. So that is how parody movies work. Realize how parodies work. Well, maybe because I watch a lot of movies that also spoof other movies, so I tend to identify it quickly. I mean, it makes the experience worthwhile for me.
Okay. All right. I'll watch again to see. Let's start doing the bad. All right. I think you can start us off.
Oh, okay. Um, so the bad is also what I'm going to say. I have a lot of things to say and a lot of ways of like criticizing this, but I'm going to start with the technical part, right? As much as I did praise movie, and I think movie is a
Hey guys.
is a uh, oh um as much as I praise movie as a comic writer, I do think that maybe this script, and I'm pretty sure it has gone through like revision and editing, but it should have maybe have a script doctor or somebody else to also sort of put into it too, because it's just why did the sister come out of nowhere? You know, they didn't really give the sister that much to do. But then again, you might say this is a comedy or something. Um, there was just a lot of like questions, even within the world building. There's some things that is just like, okay, so why is your father paying money for the village people to a village that is not even from, but he's supposed to be the king of another something of another village? All this like tiny little things, and even like I like when the reveal came out of like they want him because he's some sort of chosen person, and these women are going through this craziness thing. Even the idea of Agard being saved by love. Bovi does not love Agard. Even at the end, Bovi does not love Agard. Bovi kept on showing that he does not love Agard. And I know there's a possibility of having all like different types of love. Not all love is romantic love, and I think they should have at least give a few more scenes with Agard. I'm not saying it should necessarily be romantic, but a few more scenes with Agard. It could be like, as another human being, I care for your love, for your well-being, or like, that's the sort of love I can give you, like that sort of love. They could have done a few more things to show that, because Agard really, really goes overboard, right? Really, really goes overboard. You could still have Agard go overboard and like bring her back in some ways, and I guess it does do that in the story, but like Bobby does not love Agard. Even the Mami spirit, you kept on denying Bobby, and you say the reason why is because it's not locked in the spirit. Well, you should have tried something to lock Bovi in the spirit. You were, in fact, the only time you decided to now you want to chase after him is when even when he told you that the witch was coming, you didn't do nothing. It's until the witch actually hit you on the head and slam you on the butt. That's when you did something. So it's like it's very ridiculous. Why are these two women chasing him? And I get he's the writer of the story, and when people write stories, I mean, what's his name? The guy that likes doing feet is a director. It's very famous. What the hell? I can't remember his name anymore. You like him?
Tarantino.
Tarantino. Thank you. See, Tarantino. He likes the feet thing, and like when people write stories, they tend to write sometimes what they would like to happen to them. So I guess you like two really powerful, powerful women, beautiful women, going crazy, coming after you, fighting each other for you. Even though there's absolutely this story never gave an absolutely good reason why. Um, Also, like, I still don't get why the witches wanted to initiate him. So is his father is the like this father is the king of the marine spirit world, and this is their child who is also like technically a child of the witches and also a child half wish half marine spirit, right? That should be more of like a story of like bringing two different people together, and they still never really answered the question of like, why are you the chosen one? Why must one of them get you? Didn't your father not marry somebody else and left the something? So there's a way for you to get out of all these things. There's just a very lot of questions, even if you go with it. Also, sound. Let's. This is an issue too. I do think that it had the ideas, like the sound effects came at the right ways, but the thing is that the sound mixing is terrible. The sound mixing is horrible, and I don't know what's going on with sound in Nigeria, especially if a movie is about to go into cinemas. This is different. This is a movie that is going into cinemas, and this is the director. I know the director because the director likes to talk about how he learns and all this, and like he likes to put out there. He's a very trained director, right? Like, didn't you watch the Masca copy? Isn't there something that can be done that you can see while you're recording the show, the mood, the scenes, whether the sound is gotten or not? And if you're taking it to the sound mixer, you should have gotten a better sound mix, somebody that is mixing the sound better, because this person apparently cannot listen through the headphones, because clearly the sound is drowning the dialogue of the speakers, and this is something that should not be happening. Like, this should not, you're adding the sound afterwards. I have done sound editing, little tiny sound editing. You're adding the sound afterwards. You should listen before you send it out. Like, this is like a very, very big mistake. It's a big mistake that kept on going throughout the entire thing. And like, I'm a little bit, because this movie could be a movie everybody, and especially I'm going for the director too, because director likes to talk about like spreading all this Nollywood around. This is a movie that could really work with like spreading Nollywood out. So like, foreigners could probably watch this, because this is very a movie that is very solid into Nigerians' own cinema culture and all these things. It's unique to them, right? It's also not that unique because it's taken from mythology that we see. Those three women, three witches. It's a very common mythology around the world, right? The three witches, the three is group of three is very common. There are a lot of things that mermaid and witches, yeah, people can get behind. This is fantasy. People can get behind it, and like Vovi has some pretty comic situation. People can get behind it, but it wouldn't work if you cannot do the basic of like actually doing sound checking. This is that for me, that one is just too big for me to be like, okay, whatever. This means that that's a very big mistake. um I've talked about the sound. I've talked about like maybe the writing. Maybe there should be a script doctor. By the way, Hollywood uses a lot of script doctors. The woman that played Princess Leia, she part of her career too. She was a script doctor. They brought her in when they had scripts, and they were like, okay, try to make the script better. Like, they can get that. It doesn't mean you're not a good writer. Everybody needs help. You need fresh eyes to look at your script. um Costumes, let's talk about costumes, right? Costumes also tell a story. I like fashion, but there's a difference between fashion on the runway and people wearing regular fashion, everything, to express themselves, and like your fashion in a movie that should tell a story. That should tell a story, like especially in a fantasy movie, your thing should tell a story. I There was some things that were working in it, the bright wig, the everything that, but it was sometimes not a consistent silhouette for them, like a sort of consistent coloring. Like it was all over the place. Like sometimes even the mermaid was in complete 100% black, you know or Agatha was always sometimes Agatha costuming sort of works many times. Like I don't know why she has the white hair, but that's just me. But like it works. I feel like they should work a little bit more on costuming, especially if you're going to do fantasy. Try to work on costuming. Costuming is not about. This is the thing about Nigerian movies. Sometimes they just want to put the women or the actresses in some of the most finest clothes. That's nice, but it should tell me about the character. Um, I've come to the costuming and all that stuff. And the other type of criticisms I'm going to have is more more of like I'm going to look at it towards the feminist levels of that stuff. But I will leave it at that for now, so that other people can talk.
All right, thank you, Inka. Who should we go? Scarecrow.
Okay, so time to talk about the bad. So I think my biggest gripe with the movie was the audio. Like when you mentioned, there were so many times, especially that scene where Haggai came to pick Bovie up, where she did the whole witchy effect thing and with the red eyes. Like I said, because I was mentioning the movie to a friend. The friend said the audio wasn't bad in the cinema. So I don't understand if what was submitted to Netflix was entirely different. That entire scene, it was just the background music. Agai was speaking, but you could see her mouth moving, but I couldn't hear anything from her. So, and it happened a lot in the movie where the background music was higher than the actors' voices. So there's some conversations. Well, not so important conversations, but some conversations were missed, and I think that was something that needed to be worked upon. Then, as Onyi also mentioned, the costume, like I felt there was a problem with continuity in some of the costumes, especially with regards to Ames. One moment her hair was black, all of a sudden her hair is white, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? From where to where? I think it was even that same, or I think it was another scene entirely. But I felt they could have done better. They could have done better with the costume. And I have no problems with the special effects. Like I mentioned earlier, the special effects, that team just chose to keep it simple. They did not try to overexert themselves. If they had done that, maybe some things would have become so obvious and would be like, oh, here we go again. So I don't have any problems with that. The story was okay, though it was a bit chaotic. But to some extent, I think I could suspend my belief for certain things. I could give them some leeway because of the genre of the movie. And just to piggyback to what Oyin was saying about why, like, there was a loophole for. I don't think the writers actually covered that the loophole that the father missed to be the whole thing. Remember that it was said that was the reason the father died. The father and mother died because he refused to take his position as the king of that kingdom. So because of that, that's how he passed on. So I think the whole premise was because the father was in line to be the king, the next king, but he escaped it. So the marine people needed someone to be their leader. So it had to be one of the two kids. Then the witches, obviously, maybe because they know of that, they wanted to consolidate power. So that's why they were trying to get one of either of the kids who were supposed to be the chosen one to be their leader. So hence the reason for all the initiation. I think the writers decided to leave it to imagination, but I think they mentioned a couple of things. There were a couple of conversations there to provide that context and conclusion. I think Bovi's sister Venita could have been given more screen time, even though I felt she could have been given more screen time. She could have shown more. Um, we could have, so that we would enjoy our performance, but screen time was limited to about 3-4 minutes. I think at most five. So and every other thing. But I think I do not have I don't really have big criticisms of the movie because I think they tried to do a lot of things right. They got a lot of things right than a lot of other Nollywood movies I've seen. So, but my biggest gripe was that audio. I had serious problems with that audio. That audio was putting me off because it was you're doing this awesome background music that's fitting with the scene, but I'm not hearing what the actor or the actress is saying, so it just defeats the entire purpose. So that for me was the biggest problem with the movie. That's my biggest critic of the movie. Thank you.
Thank you. That's an interesting one that I guess is going to. I wonder if I wonder because my experience of this was I generally had most of the things, and it just had little sprinkles of all these issues that people are saying. And I'm wondering whether I'm just so used to Nollywood having terrible audio and also just because of the good side of the audio it did, that I'm like, oh, okay, it wasn't that bad. Or maybe it was the way in which I listened to it. I don't know, I listened to it with headphones because I watched it on the flight. But I'm interested if everybody had the bad audio mix. But I don't know. To be honest, I don't even know how we would quantify that because I definitely got it. I just didn't.
No, I think if anyone can that specific scene. So, like I said, I mentioned it to a friend. A friend, because she said she watched it in the cinema, she had already done a review. She said the audio wasn't bad. So that's why maybe if anyone had seen it in the cinemas as at when it came out, then maybe they can also speak to that. But that particular scene where Haggai came to Ahmed's house to get Bovi, that thing was just after, like, I can specifically tell you the sequence after she had knocked Ame out and Bovi ran to the other side of the room and she was slowly gravitating towards where Bovi was. She was talking, but you couldn't hear anything she was saying. It was just the background music that was there. And the way I watch Netflix on my PlayStation 4 console, so definitely I plug my headphones to my pad. So I use headphones. So it was just terrible. There was nothing, I couldn't hear her. Then, and I think I can't remember there are a couple of like 2 or 3 other scenes that had that same problem. Background audio was so loud. The actors were talking, but you couldn't hear what the actors were. You could see that the actors their mouths were moving, but the background music drowned them out. So maybe if someone has seen it in the cinemas and didn't have that problem, maybe they can come out and let us know. So we know whether it was a problem of what the production company submitted to Netflix, or someone didn't do, or maybe they didn't submit the edited version that they had done before sending it to the cinemas or something. I don't know.
Okay, thanks. All right, maybe it was just parodying Nollywood audio. All right, who knows? Elizabeth, do you want to say things you didn't like?
Okay, so whatever I say, what I didn't like will be on the fact that I watched this movie and I saw that they were trying to be a parody movie. So first thing is that, before then, look, I have never had a problem with drone shots, but while watching, I channeled my inner Mr. C because the drone shots will just come from nowhere here at the top. In fact, I've never noticed drone shots like Mr. C always point them out, but this one, I beg, it was a lot. Anyways, and sometimes they make no sense. But so back on this badly executed movie. So the thing with the reason why parody movies are usually good, now, not just movies that are blatantly mocking other movies. There are a lot of parody movies that you probably would not know that they're parodies, like Austin Powers or Sisters Act or Scooby Doo the movie or Shrek or Hot Fuzz. But there was one that, there's also one that I know that a lot of people probably know that it was spoofing, which was not another teen movie, which was like spoofing all of the teen movies that came out in the late 90s. But and the good thing with parody movies like that are not really in your face, where it allows you just enjoy them without thinking, is this like parody of every other kind of movie that I've watched? Is their leads are always awesomely carrying the movie. Everything works together. Now, in this movie, every other person, and I mean it, every other person was carrying this movie except our lead, which is why I was surprised when everybody was saying Bobby gave. Bobby did not give anything. It was the weakest link in this movie. It's the reason why this movie did not land. Whatever comedy you were expecting, you don't understand the genius. I'm telling you that the script, there is genius in the dialogue, in the scripts. There is genius in what they're writing. Now, imagine Bobby saying a line like, "Oh, just trying to do my ancestry.com," and it did not land. I'm not joking. It didn't land. I didn't laugh, but I pointed it out like, I like the genius of whoever wrote it, but it didn't land because it was Bobby that was doing it. Imagine it was Aka that was in this role.
Sorry,
Because
point out that you're both dragging and praising Bobby because Bobby is as
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it could be a very good. You could write it well, but it can also flop. Next time, don't cast yourself. Because really, when I was watching this thing, look at Aka's performance vis-a-vis his own. Like they were in the same car. Aka was there, just giving. Aka hardly even spoke, but it was giving the performance of his life. I was laughing. I was enjoying whatever it is that Aka was selling. But Bobby will say these lines. Bobby will say his lines, and the lines will sound so lifeless and dull. I said, guys, supposed to be comedy. And then it can be lifeless and dull, but your acting should show something. Why is Hot Fuzz so funny? Like this guy that acted, the main guy in Hot Fuzz, every other movie he's in is trying to be like caricature, you're laughing. But in Hot Fuzz, it was so serious that you are also laughing because that is what he was supposed to be giving. Like, or let's say the funniest one that always gets me laughing, Princess Bride. They were also serious in being ridiculous. In their lines were so ridiculous, the dialogue was so ridiculous that it will have in tears. But the actors were serious about what they were doing. But that's the beauty of parody movies, right? They get to convince you, and to convince you, you need the actors to be doing what they were supposed to do, like Chris Evans did in not another teen movie. But tell me what Bobby was doing. Like in any scene where in any the scenes where Bobby was with Teresa Edem, I was laughing at the nonsense Teresa was doing, but at the same time, I was intrigued because she was being serious in her role, because that is the idea. When you put Bobby in the same scene with Nkemowo, you're already laughing at what Nkemowo said. Like, look at that part where when the witches said they were going to separate them, and Nkemowo said, "I agree." Like, that was so funny. Bobby does not have comedic timing. I'm sorry. You're a funny person without a comedic timing. What are you doing in this? What are you doing in this set? Why are you dragging this story back? It was in the same scene with Chelsea Noje, and he wasn't pulling. And I'm like, what is off? There is something really off, because it sounded like Bobby was reading out the script. Like it was like he would just say it because they asked him to say it. Like maybe the director maybe they were going for something parody and wasn't exactly parodying, because you shouldn't be pointing out to people that this is a parody movie. Like, really. And I do get it that maybe not everybody watched Agbarala or Yemi My Lover growing up. Agreed. But still, people should be able to point out the other stereotypes, the other many stereotypes that were littered around, like all over. The stereotypes were littered all over this movie. that part when he said, I am for everybody and I'm for nobody. That was awesome. That was parodying Buhari in that moment. And it didn't land. How did that not land? We're talking comedy here. Nobody should be pointing out and say, "Oh, this is a parody movie." And I do get it. People don't get it that this is actually parody. It's understandable because the lead just did this movie anyhow. So I get it. If people are saying fantasy something. Okay, it's possible, but that's not what this movie is. This movie is actually parody. I can bet $100 right now that this movie is parody. If they ask people that did it, they'll tell you it's a parody. But it didn't land. It's not landing for anyone. And even me that I noticed did not land from, because he doesn't deliver his lines with conviction. So why are we watching this? So, anyways, for his acting, though, I'm sorry, he's the one that is the weakest link in this movie. Sorry, Bovi, your village people followed you onto the sets. So, what next did I not like? First, I want to thank Segun Maximus every year, every Nollywood film club. I always thank Segun Maximus because my ears have been speaking sound designs. Now I am expert. When Mr. C was talking about the sound, I'm like, okay, maybe it's the same sound, though. Maybe not. But me, I was speaking the mic. When Ikemowo was hitting his chest, I had to remove my earbuds. Like, thank you very much. Don't blow my ears out. There was that scene where Ame and Haggai, they were talking in the bar, and it was echoing as if they were in the bathroom. At first, I said, are they supposed to be like parodying Marine World? Because who knows? Since this is a marine, whatever. But at a point, I said, they're not parodying Marine World, because I heard the echo again. And another thing, I said, okay, congratulations. This is not some parody. You people actually have terrible sound designs. And then sometimes the music is so loud. You know where the music, when they switch from conversation to music, oh my God, you have to reduce. Just have you just reduce the volume when the music starts, because it's going to blow out your ears, and then you are going to increase it again when the conversation starts, because I did not hear half of what it is that they were saying again. And then what else did I not like in this movie? Yes, the rain. When every time it is raining, it was giving bathroom shower. It was not giving rain. It was like somebody carried buckets and was just spraying, pouring it, just throwing it at somebody on the set. I'm like, okay. Well, you guys tried a bit in the other, but for this particular one, this one is giving bucket and sponge and somebody spraying water. So, anyways, I really don't want to go into like plot or character, whatever, because for me this is a parody movie, so there's really not in parody movies. What are you tearing about? But I'm telling you, the reason this thing did not land is Bovi. Arrest that man. Thank you.
Wow. That was hilarious.
I'm sorry, but like I was telling Mr. C that I didn't see Prince. It was Bovi. It was just Bovi. I didn't see a character. I just saw Bovi playing himself. And I was like, I'm fine with that for things like, I was saying like Seinfeld, right? Where he's playing Jerry Seinfeld, or Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry David is playing Larry David. I'm fine with them being themselves in shows like that because they're playing themselves. But if Bovi is in a film playing someone else, I don't want to see, hear, experience Bovi. It was, yeah, I'm with you on that. And sorry, Mr. C, I don't know, because we didn't
I
watch.
think we disagree on this one. Yeah, I think it's just one, because I think it's not unusual for comedians to play their version of comedy in the films that they're in. It happens all the time, actually. People get hired to do their one thing that they're good at. What?
He hired himself.
Yes, of course. But we don't get upset when other people
Yeah, we've complained about Instagram comedians a lot. They come on and play themselves, and we complain about it.
No, I don't complain about Instagrams playing themselves. I have no problem with Instagram comedians doing movies. Files is an Instagram comedian. It's what they bring to the table. Is that are they over? I guess there's a thing where they could be, like when Brother Shaggy comes to a movie and he's doing that that funny Agboro guy. Like, does that movie need a funny Agboro guy at that point, or did you just want to bring Brother Shaggy on to do it? Now, where Bovie's sort of what Bovie usually does is a more, I don't know, like he's a satirist, and like Bovie doesn't do big physical performances. But like I'm saying all of this, and what I said in my good was I liked his first half performance. I think his second half performance is very bad.
I
I said,
second half performance being bad, but I felt like the first half performance, while I did enjoy some of it, it was Bovie, and I didn't like that.
okay, that's fine. That's the beauty of subjective stuff. There, because like because like what I care about is like is your acting good? There,
I feel like it
if
was
the
acting
case is
like he
Bovie.
was being himself.
Yeah, but that's fine. Like everybody plays some. Will Smith is playing a version of Will Smith in a lot of things. Denzel is playing a version of Denzel in a lot of things. That's fine. It's what matters is if I sort of mess with your acting or your charisma. Like if you're not charismatic, if you don't think like you know he was holding up to the like he wasn't living up to the role in some way. I think that's a fair point. But like that he's playing himself. Yeah, that doesn't.
No,
Sure.
that is definitely valid. He wasn't playing a character; he was being himself. But that's a point. It's a different point. I also want to talk about. I'm going back to the sound. I know that everyone's talked about the sound, but I don't know how you watched this film, because I'm with you on a lot of other sound aspects being fine, but I don't know how this didn't stress you the way it stressed us. Like Elizabeth was saying about the song, I remember it being really low when he was in the car with Aka, and he was speaking, and I could hear him clearly and I couldn't hear Aka, and they're in the same car having a conversation, and I had to turn it up to try and hear Aka, and the very next scene Karashika starts playing really loudly and I have to turn it down. And
Yeah.
that thing with the sound was, it wasn't just one or two little bits. It was almost from the very beginning when we were having scenes where we can hear one person and the other person is speaking and we can't hear him. Like from the wedding when the sister was leaving and we had the husband in the car and he starts speaking after he says my grandmother's a witch, and then he asks him something and then it subtitles it in distinct speaking. I thought
Hmm.
maybe that was intentional. But then it happens again with Akanani's character, and then it happens again when she comes to the house. It happens
Hmm.
again a few other times. I see it happen, and it happens with Sophie speaking to him. And it's like, okay, this is not intentional because it's not serving any narrative purpose,
Right.
right?
No, I understand that, and I'm with you. I agree those things are bad, but like what you're describing are things that are happening, right? Like oh, it's like something was going on a certain way, and then something interrupted the way you were listening to the audio. It happened, and it was bad, right? What I'm saying is that a lot of Nigerian films, the default, right? And I'll use something like Chief Daddy, right? I don't remember um if Chief Daddy was we abused Chief Daddy for its audio, but something like Chief Daddy, right, has this lapel mic thing I'm talking about where and a lot of our films do, it's not just Chief Daddy. A lot of our films do where again I say this for the first half as the movie gets into the second half of the movie, like I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. All that nice sort of I feel like I'm just in the room with them or behind the camera watching this. All of that goes out of the window. But yeah, I'm not saying this is the. I'm saying there was something in there. The best parts of this movie, when you're listening to it, if we keep that in, that would be a huge step forward for audio in Nollywood. That's what I'm saying. If like, I can't say this about um, the other ones because this is what I'm saying. Like the processing, whether it's the processing, or how they do the post process for the audios in other films, whether it's, that it's too fine that it sounds like somebody went into a studio to record all these actors acting, and I can just feel like the proximity between people's mouths and the mic. this wasn't a problem I had in this. That's kind of what I'm highlighting. I'm not saying that the audio was fantastic. And I just wasn't, but again, like it could be just different mediums. I watched it with headphones. I watched it with headphones where I guess you guys did not. Again, I'm not even saying that there weren't all these problems. That the specific thing Elizabeth said with the audio doubling up. Yeah, I picked that up. I certainly picked that up. I was like, oh no, no, that's bad. That's audio from different audio from different sources going on in there, which is not a good thing to have. But yes. Do you want to pick someone else instead of going back and forth? Cynthia.
Yeah, pick someone else who's up next. Cynthia, are you up?
Yes, let me mute this show. Okay. Yeah, so about Buffy's character, because I know I said I like his character at the beginning. I felt even though it was acting himself, it was giving the South South vibe that was needed at the beginning, so I really did not have a problem with that. Then someone spoke about I think Oyinkan spoke about Buffy never liking a guy. I think he pitied her, and maybe for them love is pity. Then now back to my dislike. So like I said in the beginning, they had this idea of children of the water versus children of the soil. That's the marine spirit and the witchcraft. But I do not think they executed it well. Why we could all agree that the movie have a very good premise. I felt like we needed a better introduction. Maybe it would have, yeah, an introduction would have been an additional time, but introducing them at the wedding, and we later went watching the movie because I watched this movie for 6 hours. 6 hours. I had to pause to go and cook and do other things because I was tired, but I had to force myself to finish it. I felt we needed an introduction of their parents. It's not like something long, maybe it's a little bit of 5 minutes. Their parents, them giving birth, and something about them dying. Then maybe we go 30 years later or 20 years later, these children are back to the village for weddings. Just something that is going to tell us this is a movie about the children of the water versus children of the soil. Just an introduction for that. Then the background sound. I don't know why Mr. C did not hear anything. Maybe because he was on flight and physics happened. But I felt
I didn't hear anything. I thought there were problems.
I felt it was very terrible. Like it was too terrible. Yes, the audio I don't even know the lapel mic and everything. Maybe the audio was good, but you see the sound was terrible. Like they had too much artificial sound to the extent that even a ringtone was too artificial and very loud. Okay, we had too much bad artificial sound, too much ringtone artificial sound. Then I like the first time they did the repeated echo, undio, and whatever they did, but they kept on doing it, and the repeated echoes became too much. And the scene Scarecrow spoke about, I remember that scene, and I felt they did it on purpose because later they wrote in this deep chatter. So they probably did not want us to hear what she was saying, but I felt the sound was bad. And I really do not know how someone felt the sound was good in this movie. Then okay, back to some other things. As a guy is a witch and she needed something from him, I also felt it was odd that she had a photograph of him, saying that we never even saw a photographer. And her having a photograph of him, I did not see a photograph as something personal because like she had a night with him. There were other things that was personal that could have been used as the contact point, his cap, his watch, something personal. I just felt like the photograph was weak for me as a contact point for being the witch. Then we have the female boss in the office. When she was speaking to them and she kept screaming all night long, I felt it was odd. I felt I would have just let the scene be natural. She tells them what to do, and Buffy still acting like a South South man. at that beginning imposed the all night long and everything. And even when I came back for the meeting and the sex scene happened, I felt it was very disorganized because I thought they were watching for Bobby's laptop. Yes, I understand that maybe the witch has power to throw in Sophie's. If I didn't even know if it was Sophie's scene because I was really confused with the whole office testing and the sacking and everything. I do not understand what was going on there. Then Zubi Michael as a pastor. I did not know who advised them to do that. I did not know who advised them to do that, but I felt like it was not even, he was trying to be a fake pastor, but him as a fake pastor was not even good to watch. Okay, it was not even good to watch. And when he went to bait them, I had to pause my movie to go and like boil chicken because I felt like, why you are not faking pastor, the faking pastor I wanted. It was baiting, he had a baiting scene and all that. Then Sophie's character, the Ame character, like someone have already said it, I did not understand the change. Okay. At the beginning, she acted like she doesn't know who he was. She doesn't know who you are. Like she was like, I'm from Esther. We're not meant to. Like she doesn't know he's the choosing one. Then later in the middle of the movie, she's not all over him. Like where how are you changing? Like I didn't see the change. I didn't see the need to change. Okay, maybe they would have written a character different as someone that was also interested in maybe for me or pretending, but she wasn't acting like she was pretending. She was acting like she doesn't know him and she doesn't give a fuck. She doesn't care. But later she was like all over him and everything. Then in Kim was saying I expected something different. So it could be my expectation. But when Bobby went to meet him and I saw that something was covered, I saw something was covered and I was like, okay, if he's going to remove this cover, we're going to see something different. I was not expecting anything, but I was definitely not expecting to see Google Map. Okay, I had no expectation, but I did not expect to see Google Map, especially because I'm invoking the cosmic forces. I'm invoking the cosmic forces. And he went on to start bashing about technology. But guy, you just removed a black cloth and I'm seeing Google Map. And it was at this point I knew I had to go and cook and come back to watch the movie. I didn't I wanted something I wanted something traditional, something traditional. Google Map? Why?
I
And
think
he
that's
went
the
on to
joke, though. Sorry.
what?
Like, I think that was the joke that he hates technology and then he's doing that and
Yeah.
Google Maps. Like that, I think that was the joke specifically.
Yeah.
Oh, a joke? It was not a joke for me. I was angry. I was angry. I was angry. Okay, and then I can't remember what am I writing? What did I write? This show is distracting me. Yes, okay, yeah. So we have Nkem was talking about you can't drink water. Is bringing out fruit juice for him to drink. I mean, fruit juice is water. Then over the visual effect, yes, that did well. We saw a guy with a white wig, her eyes turned to yellow. She was doing something. They had the wind, but I felt like the introduction of the witches were them more culturally. They were on black clothes and they were on their natural hair. And why do we have to go from tradition to Marvel Studios or Avengers or something? Like I felt like if they were going to introduce the witch has culturally dressed with their black and black, their black hair. Why is she not appearing and I'm seeing different virtual effects? I felt they would have just picked one. Okay, we're going culturally. Let's go culturally. We're going Marvel Studio Avengers. Let's go Marvel Studio Avengers. The change of today you're a witch. Wear black and black. Carry your natural hair. Tomorrow, yeah, wear red dress. Wear white wig. We will change your eye to white. It was just not. it for me. It was just not it for me. Then they had one scene that also pissed me off when the female were fighting and they were playing the opera music. I'm like, why are you wasting my time? Just do what you want to do. Move over to those guys hiding for Undio. Like, there are more important things for me to see. Then I also did not get the essence of the raincoat because the raincoat was supposed to cover him, and at the same time, he was still wearing the raincoat, and and the witches could see him. The witches even helped him. He was also scared of the witches. It was like they just had all these things in the movie, and they could not like follow what they introduced because the raincoat was no longer necessary. Then the chosen one. Okay, so Bobby went into the marine kingdom. Okay, and the lady that wanted to um or the lady that wanted to bless their marriage, and it refused, and it came back to the reward. She was the same person that introduced Venita as the chosen one. So I'm like, uh-uh. But we were just few minutes ago, and you were going to bless this guy as the chosen one. Which one are you introducing Benita again as the chosen one? I just felt like it was written so scattered, and I didn't even understand. Like, yes, I suspected Benita was going to be the chosen one. I wanted her to be the chosen one. I felt the scene she had was enough. I didn't think they needed to add anything for her. What I did there was a very good introduction into the spirit of the water, children of the water versus children of the soil. Okay, but the lady was already blessing this guy as a chosen one, and she's now introducing Venita as the chosen one again. So yeah, so the movie had like a lot of disorganization, but I mean they had some effort. They had some effort, and I applaud them for their effort, and I applaud them for their idea. So yes, now I want to go back to something. All right.
Wow. Like,
You tell us about the new contestants when you're done. That's something.
yeah, no, I just wanted to piggyback on what Cynthia said. Some of the things. I think, well, again, I think this speaks to something Elizabeth might have said. Whether you view this as a parody or a horror comedy, I think the movie certainly has problem with juggling its tones. So, I mean, we probably haven't done a horror comedy before, and excuse me, and if you're going to introduce horror comedy to the Nigerian audience, probably you should do it better than this probably did. I guess is probably a fair way to summarize it. And there's something in there with Cynthia saying with some of the movie not following its own rules. Which yes, with that raincoat, I was like, okay. Again, it just seems like you wanted to do a thing with a raincoat, and sorry, what Elizabeth said with the raincoat being a callback or reference, I guess it makes sense, but they brought it on and it didn't really do anything with it. It's just there until it's not even doing the thing they set it out to do. Also, um, I think the thing she said about when Bobby initially says "I love you," the amount of times, apparently he has to mean it, but I'm pretty sure he didn't mean it the first time he said it. And so, why does the spell happen? I mean, I don't know. Look, yes, this movie doesn't survive any moment of scrutiny, almost for anything. When you start to think about, oh, but this rule that they pointed out, oh, if you think about it for more than 5 seconds, you go, you'll not like the movie. If you think about this movie, is this just what some people used to say? Shut your brain off and enjoy. No, I just don't think it did it very well. I think Cindy also pointed out about this being she wasn't sure about the expectations from Nkem. I have to say I think this is the worst Nkem or performance I've seen. It was just bad. Yes, you can talk about expectations for him, but he wasn't speaking in a language that he was clearly comfortable with. He stumbled over his lines a lot. Just a bad performance, to be honest, and that's not something I don't recall even really ever saying about an Inkem performance. So I don't even know why why put Inkem in this if you're not going to let him. I mean, like it would have. It seems like a good fit, to be honest. Bovi and Inkem, because these are two, in my mind, two very good comedic comedic talents that Nigeria have. In difference, fair enough, but it was hugely disappointing that some of the least funny moments or the most cringiest moments were when both of them were on screen. Um, I think I was talking about how I thought the dialogue was flowing a bit more naturally with Mrs. C, and we talked about when meets in Kem's character. Bovi's character meets in Kim's character, and she was like, that felt very distinctively bad. And I was like, yes, no, I remember very much that part being very awful, very, very awful. There's no getting around it. But yeah, funny enough, all of the things I said that were good about this movie is only in parts, unfortunately. I think people are going to talk about the story to death because yes, the story is just a giant mess in more ways than one. I don't know how I don't know how anybody was going to save this, but it is what it is. Hello, Kamisi.
Okay. One thing I would say about story is that I think they were trying to like do like every something like every 10 minutes we would have that game moment, and the plot twist would come in, and I think Bobby was trying to do that with the writing, but it's actually a mess that when you have too much plot twist, you would even be confused. Even as a writer, you'll be confused. You wouldn't know how you would close your story and bring everything to an end. So he had the issue with the plot twist. And the movie took too long. I felt like it became like maybe kids were playing. We used to call something actor and boost when we were young. We just be acting, no story, nothing. I think it felt like that. The actor, I mean the witches and the mermaids going back and forth. It didn't really make any sense. So the plot twist didn't actually work. I think you should have just had maybe one or two plot twists, one in the middle and one at the end, or maybe you could have just, the story should have been line. It could have been really in love with the is it a guy or what do you call it, a guy, and something should have just happened that this plot twist should just be just one plot twist or two. So it was too much for him to like. He didn't know. Maybe he didn't know how to like bring everything, tie everything up, and end it. So Nollywood has issues with plot twist. We really have that thing, and it will leave you confused. That was the same thing they wanted to do in this movie. Foreigner, is it the foreigner god? I mean, the foreigner's god. Everything just fell flat. You were doing something, and all of a sudden, everything would just fall flat. You will leave the story to do something else. So I just had issues with the story development, the screenplay. Anyway, I don't really feel bad about Inkemowa's character because I was like, this is normal stuff. This is what he does most of the time. So I don't know. I've never really found him funny at all.
Okay, thanks, Lord Kamisi. Otas, give us
Hi.
everything you have. We missed you on the
Okay.
good.
I mean, the good is short. I can do it right now. I like that guy. I thought her first half as a creepy witch girl was done very well, and I was hoping to see more of that. Really hated her second half character, but that's neither here nor there. Um, so knowing it's a parody, I think actually tempers how I feel about it a little bit more. Um, I feel weird even picking up plot holes because the whole thing is like just plot holes. Like honestly, there's just no part of the plot that makes sense. My biggest grief though is if his sister is the leader, quote unquote, why don't the rest of the mermaids know that? Like, why are they all running around trying to pick him as their leader if they already have a leader? It just doesn't mean anything. Um, I hope Bobby doesn't quit his day job, whatever that is. Uh, I would prefer to not see him as a main character in anything else. He, I think that he brought down a lot of the scenes, and there were truly some funny moments that he just did not add anything to. Like there's a scene with the fake pastor, and everybody in that scene actually is more impactful than he is. At some point, like when Aka is like sneaking out the door in the background, that was truly hilarious because they're not even focusing on it, and that's just a thing happening in the back. That's funny, and so that was fun. Um, the sound was atrocious. Cannot say that enough. I think everyone has already said that. It was ambitious. I think the story was ambitious. I just it just failed very badly. The scene where all the women are fighting in the club is probably some of the worst thing I've ever seen on cinema, like ever. So yeah, it had funny moments. It just let's just not do this again.
Thank you. Yeah, so the scene. So I'm going to say something about the scene where the women are fighting in the club. I don't know. I feel like it could have been a fun scene, but it didn't make
It
sense
didn't do
in the way
anything. Like
most of the film didn't make
it
sense.
just
And like you're right, it was quite messy. It was it was very messy. Almost nothing holds up to scrutiny. Like that scene just on its own. It's like she's there with other witches, but none of the witches in the coven support her little side quest. So who are these witches? And it was just no, it didn't make any sense. Um Rotimi, you have your hand up. Hello? Hello? Rotimi. If he's not there, Elizabeth.
Right, let's go.
He has a hand up. No? Okay. Uh Sorry, who hasn't done their bad? Who have I missed?
Mel.
Mel. Mel, what's your bad? Hello.
Hi. Um, okay. Before I go to my bad, I wanted to talk about a little bit of the conversation that has been happening concerning whether or not it's a parody. Like I don't think that I'm disagreeing with Elizabeth that it feels as a parody, or it might have failed as a parody because of execution or misses in execution. Um, but I also think that I think that it fails for other reasons as well, which is why I'm really struggling to accept that it's a parody. I don't think it is quite. I think it fails for instance, for the same reasons that the woman in the house across the street from the girl in the yada 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 fails, because it takes itself seriously. And the most critical part of a parody is that you're mocking something very specific, not something vague. You're mocking something very specific. And I think that the moment you start to become the thing that you're mocking, you're you've lost all, like you're not parodying anymore, like you're the thing. We're not laughing with you, we're laughing at you now, right? So I think that it takes itself really seriously, and I think that you can see that with the side commentary about the fake pastor, because they spend a lot of time on it, and Sophia's character, what's her name, Ame, has like a lot of lines to drive home that point. She's like, oh, why did you, oh, when did you, there's a point there. It's not a parody anymore if it's making a point. So I think that I received it more as homage, as a reference. And just because you reference something doesn't mean you're parodying. That's just because you're sort of satirizing something doesn't mean that you're parodying it as well. I think that I really struggled with that. I don't, if they intended for it to be, I think it fails for more reasons than just like, oh, a little bit of the execution didn't work. I think it's fundamentally fails. I just wanted to say that. I wanted to say that earlier on, but I think I missed like perfect timing, whatever. Other than that, the things that I didn't like about it overall, my big issue, every other thing I think falls under this big issue. I did not understand it. I did not understand what the overall point of it was. I did not understand uh Bovie's characterization came off as weird. I didn't understand anything. Why is it that something starts to go wrong and you as a Nigerian aren't calling your uncle first and foremost? Okay, then you realize you see oh boy, Teresa's character. She reaches out to you, she calls you, she shows up at your office, she shows up at your house, she fucks things up for you. The person who led you to her is your uncle. Why haven't you called him? Why isn't he the first person you're calling to try to figure this out? What is all the hush hushness about? I'm assuming that these things are known, right? Because you share your community meetings, your regular community meetings with Indio, so you know that Indio. You should know at least. I'm assuming that you know that Indio is metaphysical in this way, especially because when he's going into Indio's house, he bows first, right? So that tells me something. So why isn't this the first thing that comes out? How didn't you know that your father wasn't from the place that you thought he was from? This is I didn't understand anything. And so that's what it is. That's like my big issue that I didn't. I finished it and I enjoyed parts of it and I laughed and I really enjoyed seeing magic and yada yada all of that. But at the end of it, I cannot explain it to another person. What is it about? I don't know. I don't. I really truly don't know what it was about. It's so confusing. I just don't. This. I'm not going by anything. I just don't know. Um, what's another thing I didn't like about it? I think my bigger issue, like this, I'll talk about lighting, for instance. I'll talk about audio. I'll talk about like story progression. But everything I think falls under the umbrella that nothing was consistent. Nothing felt consistent. Nothing was consistent. Movie's character wasn't consistent. Theresa's character wasn't consistent. Sophia's character wasn't consistent because you're putting up a show and then suddenly you're like something spiritual first. Girl, if you don't get the fuck. Who else wasn't consistent? The powers that they have, the rules weren't consistent. Like there were some rules, but they weren't consistent. Um, just a lot of things. So it made it even harder to follow the story, whatever the story was, because it didn't feel consistent. Whatever you're telling me now that I'm holding on to, you're going to rubbish it later on. And that's another thing that happened. We spent a lot of time developing things that we never follow through on. What is the significance of the soap? I don't know. The three women, the three elderly women, right? It feels like a missed opportunity to me. Because if there's anything you know about, like, especially magic, it's all this. It's this three witches. It's always three witches, right? So it feels like it should be more significant than just showing up as a plot device. Oh, you need to disappear now. Oh, here's these three women from the beginning, because they don't do anything else, right? They don't mean anything else. But we spend a lot of time with them. We do the soap thing, and it means nothing at the end, but there's an end credit for it. But I don't know what it means. At first I thought, I was watching with my friend. We were like, oh, should he have bathed with the soap? Is that what they were trying to push? But then it also seemed like, oh, they're trying to sell it to more people, and it sort of seemed like they knew that he hadn't sold it or used it. So it felt like they were trying to get more, the way that the sweet work, or like the way that the sweet works in Nollywood mythology, or in Nollywood lore. Like, you give somebody a sweet and you initiate them. So it felt like they were trying to use the soap to initiate, but nothing comes out of it. So nothing means anything out of it. What else did they set up that didn't? There's a number of things that they set up that doesn't go anywhere, but we spend time on it, and that's another thing. The first 30 minutes felt like an hour to me. It felt like an hour. It felt overly drawn out, especially because very little is set up in that time. And I think that if you're doing something that has like rules, and it's a different type of reality. You're spending the first few minutes setting up what these rules are, how they work, what are the ramifications of these rules, and none of that feels like it got set up in the first 30 minutes. It just feels like a lot happened, but also not, I don't know. It felt like a really long time. It felt drawn out. Um, and then the end of it, I had questions, obviously, because again, I didn't understand anything. And like Bovi's asking all these questions, Bovi's character is asking all these questions, and I'm like, yes. And then Princess is like, forget about it. No, 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 no. Don't tell me that. I don't want to forget. What do you mean? And it's like, let sleeping dogs. I'm like, no. What does that mean? These are questions that I have. But then you're like, oh, I'm not even going to touch it. Just some things, just let it go. And I don't want to let it go. You haven't given me anything to hold on to make letting it go worth it. And so please come back. Let's do this. So just generally, that was honestly generally it for me. It felt inconsistent. I didn't understand it. And then just all of the other technical thingies. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. A?
I think Okechukwu is just common. We have been talking about my village people. We've done the good and the bad. You haven't really missed on any of that. You can just give us your summary on, I guess, your good and bad, if you want to do that. Okay, is that Okechukwu? I imagine it's Okechukwu. Yeah.
Guys, hi. Good evening. I'm trying not to laugh too hard because some of the opinions I've had here have been really scathing. But I'll give like an official disclaimer first. I'm not a fiction film expert. I make documentary films, and the way we look at films is a little bit different. So, having said that, this opinion is probably just something more of a personal thing than a technical one. I'll start by saying that um, you cannot really mark biology exam script with the mathematics marking scheme. People like AY have made sure that I don't have to expect so much from comedians who go into acting. And so my expectations are not really, high like that from a technical point of view. I'm not really expecting anything fantastic in that regard. Um, so for me, the bad the bads I have on this movie are at some point in time, which is almost typical with a lot of Nigerian made films. At some point in time, the film starts to become a drag. It's almost like it loses its direction, and nobody really knows, when this thing is going to end. So yeah, perhaps a lot of 1 hour, 40 minutes movies would actually be more beautiful to watch if they were like 45 minutes. That is my bad. However, on the flip side, I really had a good laugh watching this film. Maybe it's because of my background. I grew up in Warri, and it wasn't abnormal for us to see crowds gathering because an 80-year-old grandma took her daughter-in-law's pregnancy away in the night and wasn't able to return it in the morning. So these things were like normal things for us growing up. The whole concept of pians and this version of witchcraft and sorcery is something that we're very much familiar with. We don't necessarily have to subscribe to it, but we grew up, with these things around us. And so this movie for me was almost like a trip down memory lane, the type of things we grew up listening to and spreading stories about. So it was a good laugh for me. Um, Perhaps maybe I'm also a little bit biased towards Bovi because I like him as a person, and he's also from Warri as well. So um, probably be very difficult for him to do anything that I'm not going to like. Um, but having said that, I feel like if we lowered our expectations, um, you would find this movie quite interesting. I mean, it does have a beautiful storyline like Breaded. Um, what's that movie? Breaded Life. And But it's definitely more interesting film to watch than most of the movies that come from Mo Staple. So um, I'd seen this movie before now anyway. Seen it again recently, and it still made me laugh. So I think maybe we should just cut them some slack. You know, I don't think this movie was supposed to be taken as seriously as we are taking it now. Um, yeah, that's my own 2 cents. Thank you.
Thanks, Kichi. Sorry, I don't know whether you're going to say something to say, but we generally, this is our format. It always kind of looks a little bit more angry than it usually is, because if you come in when we're doing the bad, because we are discussing just the bad now, we've discussed the good. Depending on when you come in to us, you might think we love a movie or we hate it, but that's just the format of it. But yeah, all the points you said, you said taken. Rotimi, do you want to say a piece, and then can start doing the summaries?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for earlier. My own village people. Just when you guys were just talking to me, that's when my phone went off, and I was like, okay, my own village people, they don't want me to talk, because right now I'm not in the. Let me not go into that zone in my head. The the weirdest thing why I had my hand up, Mr. C, I don't know why. Doesn't what the last speaker, okay, Chico, what he said does not sound like me, a couple of like how many rooms, how many spaces down the line. Like in the future, I used to say the same thing. Oh no, let's not, with the standards we're trying to hold in all good movies, I used to say this. And it's kind of weird because now I think I've started forming an ideology about what when I see this kind of movies, because it's now happening a lot. So I can't keep defending it. This same thing he used to say, I used to say many spaces before. I'll be like, no, we're assessing this thing differently. And I think what's doing is that, like, what's in my head, what I think a movie should be like. I think there's a method in Nollywood, and the best way I can describe it, what it looks like to me, is Basbo's method. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody, but the method of Nollywood filmmaking to me in general is Glasgow's, and that's why when we talk about the structure, the inconsistencies, the sound. The method is Basbo's, and it's like we put it together. There's only one thing I'll say. I don't know. I think it's Shock NG that did the numbers. They did comparison for cinema numbers from last year. So I think that from last year to this year, like the numbers for Nollywood movies in terms of people paying for Nollywood movies are down, which is also people going to streaming. But it's also people are not going to trust their money, their hard-earned money based on Nigerian economy to go and watch a Nigerian movie. So it's like from 35% now like 21%. I don't quote me verbatim. I think just check Shock NG what they were talking about, or is it inside Nollywood about the numbers? So the numbers are down, which is people will not spend their money to go and watch a Nollywood movie. And I'm like, oh, we should just enjoy it. I'm like, yeah, but people won't spend their money. And I'm like, I'm asking myself, I'm watching this, and I'm like, would I spend my money to go to the cinema to watch this? Because it was in the cinema. But my mom's like, okay, it's cool. I'm watching it. I'm watching it streaming now. That's why we're even having this discussion. But I'm like, would I pay my money? Like there was one, somebody still posted something. I don't know if anybody has seen the new Black Panther trailer. And somebody was like, oh, come November, Nollywood versus Hollywood. How is that going to be a fight? How is that even going to be any competition? There's only one winner in that fight. So it's weird because I know we can't compare ourselves to an established machine like Hollywood, but you see, it's still the thing is that it's money. People come here, foreign properties come into your country and make 600 million. It's in your country, the money is here. So every single time when we put out a movie, I'm looking at it from the business point of view that like we're not creating movies that Nigerians want to spend their money on. And it's kind of funny because even in the streaming zone, and I'm like looking at because even Netflix are losing subscribers because in general across the world, people are not totally happy with what they're getting their money's worth. So I'm asking you now, like, I have no problem with Bovi. You see, that's the one thing, like what he said, I like what he said that he likes Bovi because him is a worry guy, so it's weird because in this space I always get that thing that I've been seeing side comments from filmmakers that it feels like as though I'm attacking this guy, like as though I have a personal problem with this guy. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with you. You put a movie, I want to watch it. Do I like it? I don't like it. You made the movie for me to watch. If I like it out, I don't even like for some Hollywood movies live. The last Thor movie, I'm like, what is this? I'm like, if I see Nigerian movie, I'm just like, why am I watching? Why am I watching this? That was literally, I made a comment on my timeline. I don't know if it I was like, what is going on? And it's like, but because we're putting it together, I think the machine can't stop moving. That's the way I look at it. We have to produce movies. We need to. The streaming services are here. They need to buy content. Oh, have 4, 5 movies that I've done in cinema. Okay, let's put it on our shelves. So we know we have Nollywood stuff, and all of us here were discussing it because we streamed it because it's the content they gave us. But at one point in time now, quality has to raise now, bro. And I feel somehow because I don't know, Mr. C. You have an idea of my own palette. And I started I know part of the projects I'm a part of, and I know a project that I'm worked on that is still on the system now, trying to fine tune it. And I'm like, it's tripping me because I know how much attention is paid into production, lighting, shooting, sound design, VFX, costume design, and I'm like, we're paying so much attention to this thing. Other people have put their material out, but because we want it to be good. But at the same time, it's like I'm asking, like, what's the value? Because we're here, we're paying for a streaming service. Don't we want value? Don't we want to come back? I don't want to come and talk bad about anybody's movie. I want to come and talk about it and let all of us. I actually think that the only reason why I stream movies now is so I can come and join Hollywood Film Club. I think I just enjoy the discussions, and I think I learned stuff here. Like I want to thank Elizabeth for mentioning Yemi, my lover, and I'm like, oh, this is a parody. Like it's true. Oh, so my venom kind of came down. I'm like, oh, this is a parody stuff. Okay, it kind of makes sense. That's why this is what they were going for. But like I said before, I like the idea. My only question is that do I like the execution? And a lot of the things that we're trying to do in Nollywood stuff is all about the execution. And the weirdest thing, the director of this thing actually mentioned it. It was in a space a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about the need for us to generally across the board, Nollywood has to work on the technical, like we need to work on our technicalities of training people for technicalities. He actually even made a mention about sound. So it was kind of funny when I watched this movie, I was remembering what he said about like, oh, having bad sound and everything, like it's affecting, this is the weirdest thing. Even if we say we should not criticize it, it's affecting the filmmakers' money. like he actually mentioned it that because their sound is not good, they're not getting the right price, they're not getting the same money that other people are getting in other regions. And I'm like, so it's actually affecting somebody's money. So it's not because I'm just an angry person. I hate the filmmaker or hate some people. No, I don't hate anybody. But if you don't deliver top quality in terms of your lighting, shooting, sound effects, whatever, the whole overall package of the movie, this is minus the content of the story. Oh, anybody can choose whether they like the story or not. But like just the right technicalities, because there are other things from other regions. Netflix itself, like now, the region that gives them the most viewership or subscriber base is in Asia, the South Koreans and all those things, and you cannot question them based on their technicality. Do I like all the after Squid Game and maybe one other series, a couple of more series? Like I love the Kingdom. Kingdom is like a South Korean stuff with zombie. I don't really watch South Korean stuff, but like they have a huge followership and you can't question their technicalities. But here we're questioning their technicalities. Those are the things that are standard. They're standard. Those are not even the going into the story or the acting, everything. Those things are the standard things, and we are not even working with the standard things. And we're banging out content, and I'm like, these people are losing subscribers. The Netflix is losing subscribers. They are so it's money. When the subscriber goes, they lose the subscribers' money. So they are giving people money to pay people for their content, pay people to create originals and whatever. If you guys are not delivering, if we as Nollywood is not delivering, why should they give you more money? Even if we keep streaming, our numbers, our streams, they need your streams to go up. So it needs for you not just to like play in your region, for people that watch Nollywood to watch it, but also in other regions to want to watch it. And you can't be another person can't be in America or Asia or anything watching Nigerian content. I'm like, what's up with this sound? I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if I'm making sense. It's like it's not even a. It's not even a. I don't. Someone was even saying something about Bobby acting is the same way. Kevin Hart acts the same way. Kevin Hart is virtually almost the same character in every movie he acts. But it's like we're not talking about sound in Kevin Hart's movies now. And I'm not trying. This is not about. I know these things are possible. There's a sorry to use. I'm not trying to compare anybody, but there's a movie that just came out. It's on YouTube. I think Coyote Kasum directed it. It's for techno. It was shot with a phone. Anybody can check for it. It's techno on Coyote Kasum's timeline. Go and check for it. It was shot with a phone. And then we should go and look at that movie and look at the whole technicalities of it. It's a short film. Has a Omomi Dada. I'm not trying to compare other people's directors to one. I'm just like, it's possible. I've seen it done. I've seen adverts done in Nigeria. I've seen music videos done in Nigeria that all the technicalities are on point. So if we are putting out stuff on on a streaming service and the technicalities don't make sense, what are we doing? If not Basbo's method. Oh, we'll put it on the streaming service, we are paying money. Basbo's, let's on to the next one. We do a launch, do another movie. Basbo's, put this person in this scene. How the story here? Those people they talk now, or they talk. What did somebody describe this group as? Elite. All those people that are elite. Bro, I'm not elite. Oh. I'm on the mainland, man. I have my phone connected to a power bank because NEPA can deceive me. I'm not elite. I just like movies. I'm not elite. Oh. Nobody should call me elite. So I just enjoy movies, and I've watched enough movies to know this movie don't make sense now, bro. So I'm like, if Nigerian movies make sense, trust me, bro. The way like Nigerian music makes sense, Nigerian music makes sense. It's now worldwide. Nobody says that music from Africa sounds. It is worldwide. People are listening to it. So I know it's not anything. Nobody can tell me anything. I know we can make series, movies, TV shows that can go across the world. That will be this idea is actually the premise of this idea is incredible. If it's well executed, a story about how there was a war between Mami Water and witches for over one guy, that thing will go worldwide. If it's done well, it's not me knocking you, it's for your own betterment. Yeah. Bro, so anybody that wants to take offense with me soon, I will enter the point that maybe if God wills it, please let the project I worked on or things I worked on, Mr. C, you know my palette. You should check I sent a DM or I sent a DM to you guys, check the thing. I'm not trying to even, I think that's the weirdest thing that it now enters that zone of, oh, guy, I don't know all my technicalities, all my own technicalities, me personally. I can say, oh, there's some things I don't know. But I actually know people who know about that. Okay, if doesn't look right, this calibration of this camera is not right, this lighting is not right, this composition is not right, this sound is not right, this music is not right, this VFX is not right, this is going to affect how my product comes out. I know that much. So I'm always trying to balance it out. My own issue is that like it's kind of weird because the other issue is that what kind of story should we be telling based on our limitations? Because what's also funny about all these things is that there seems to be some limitations within the Nollywood. So it's Nigeria. There are like lots of constraints. I get that. Then why are we stretching? Why are we stretching more than our capabilities? Why are there things that heavily reliant on things that like you can't possibly execute them to the max level? So why are we attempting those stories? Just for the sake of say we attempted those stories because we want new stories. I'm like, yes, but we want you to try new stories, but we want also the things to be done well. Because all that helps the audience. As if you then you do a couple of things well, then okay, the audience moves up and like, okay, let's try something new. But we're not this basic thing about those two people talking in a room and we're talking about sound, somebody hitting the lapel mic on their chest. If you can't get two people talking in a room just right for people to watch, I don't understand. Why are we pushing this boundary? Everybody, I still watched the documentary today about Nollywood being, oh, that we're going worldwide. That is the second largest in the world. And I'm like, it freak me out. It like no me personal talk and my brother from worry, but shame supposed catch us now. Where are other people they show film? Shame supposed catch us based on the movie. Say this movie no biamo. And I'm not talking about doing Hollywood standard. Hollywood should go and sit down in one place. Them today they mess up well. I'm just saying this thing should be decent. Minimum. There should be some kind of structured, cohesive storyline. You understand? That's why the editing room is there. Sometimes you can look at and you can cut out a scene. Not every scene you shot needs to make the cuts. You can cut it out to make it more cohesive. You can add voiceovers. There are ways to even like kind of cover up. Like maybe you didn't think about something. You can add a voiceover that will probably explain the methodology of what you are doing and everything. I know because I'm doing it. I know how to cheat these things. But it feels kind of weird because I'm thinking that in my own mind that this thing is general knowledge. Everybody has watched enough films or making films knows this thing. But it doesn't. It seems that thing is not the normal thing. And everybody's just, like I said, Basbo's method. And it's majority of so it's Basbo's and we're like, yes, we're bringing out movies. And I'm like, okay, this is not the kind of movie I want to watch. Like, I wouldn't pay to go and watch this in the cinema. God help anybody that is putting out their movie at the same time when Black Panther is coming out. Please, if your movie is coming out in November when Black Panther is coming out, please let your movie be a very great movie so that people's money, that is Nigerian money is not going to foreigners instead of going to you, because the money is supposed to go to you to make more movies, not go to a foreign product. That's what you're in competition. When we're on the streaming service, we're in competition with America, we're in competition with the Asians, we're in competition with the Indians, we're in competition with the South Africans. Not that they are enemies, we're just in competition because we're all fighting for the streaming numbers. So if your product is not good enough, then what's going to happen? But now you turn around and see people that have these places are the enemies and want to hate on you. Who hates who? Hate you from where? It's not for the I'm sorry. I'm gone. Sorry. Bye-bye, Mr. C. Thank you, everybody. I'm gone.
Oh wow, Rotimi is always able to do these rants while staying very much on point. Thanks, Rotimi. Always appreciate your perspective. Ava wants to speak, so Ava, go on, please. And before we start doing the summaries.
Okay, is my mic on? You guys can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So I actually I'm not here to criticize the film. I'm not here to say what's bad, what's good. I can't criticize something that I know the people who worked on it, that won't be right. I just came here because I cannot take the insults Rotimi just gave us right now. But I was here before him. I wanted to say something before, but now I'm going to say that, and I'm going to address Rotimi. Yes, it's unfortunate that we make movies that don't resonate with everybody. I'm sorry about that. I feel so bad. I really wish people enjoyed this movie, a lot. But unfortunately, some of you didn't. That's fine. However, I do want to point out that this movie actually made over 100 million in the box office. So that goes to say something. And I talked about this in the space. I don't remember which one it was, which movie.
Can everyone hear Ava except me?
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember which movie we were discussing, but I talked about it in this very same Nollywood spaces that there is a difference between the people who are streaming this movie, all and then people who went to the cinema to watch it, because we know word of mouth is a very powerful tool, especially in Nigerian box office. Word of mouth is what got King of Boys or Mogeto, is what made those movies really successful. Now, if people found this movie really, really bad, it will have done like a 50 or 60% drop in the box office sales the next week. But it didn't really do that. The film was kind of like a surprise hit. No one expected it to get 100 million. So clearly, some people were enjoying it. I think the problem is now that the people that enjoyed this movie are not the same people that happen to be on this Nollywood spaces. They're not the same people that probably subscribe to a Netflix subscription and pay 4,000 something or every month or what have you. These are not the same people. So at the end of the day, you're criticizing a movie that ultimately was not made for you. I know that, yes, there are certain things that you're talking about, like, okay, yes, the sound and all that stuff. I get it completely. But this is now my second point. There's something, Nollywood is Nollywood. It is not the best of places to make a movie, which is why every time somebody criticizes a movie, the filmmaker always says, are you mad? Go and make your own. You think it's easy? I know it's a messed up thing to say, but the fact is, it is not easy. Now, I know the guy who did the sound on this movie. My good friend, I know he's very talented because I've seen what he has done on other projects. But this is clearly a case of run out of time. And I didn't even talk to him to know it. The moment I watched this film, I was like, this guy ran out of time. And it happens so often in Nollywood. Because at the end of the day, when you are doing sound for a movie, because I have done sound for movies, you watch a movie like 50 times. Because when you watch it, you'll be like, oh, I missed this. Oh, I missed that. Oh, I missed this. Then you send it to the director who say, oh, no, you missed that. And then it comes back to you and then you watch it again. But clearly, they did not have time for any of that. Because you make a movie, you spend money on the movie, then the distributor says, hey, have fun. I'm making this movie. We need to watch it so we can give you a date. Then you send the movie to the distributor. The distributor tells you, man, August 25th, that's the date. Oh, bring your film. Oh, we don't want to hear story. Oh. And you're like, hey, Jesus, I have to watch and finish this film. And at the end of the day, you watch and finish the film. And I know what this situation is like because I've been in it and it has caused fight between me, director. Oh, you got to say, come, there's just not enough time. So, yes, the sound was not the best it could have been, but it's not because the guy didn't know what he was doing or they are just useless people in Hollywood that don't know what they're doing. It was just a matter of time. And I think it's the same thing that happened with Glamour Girls. I don't know why streaming has to be the same as cinema, but obviously it was a situation of, hey, guys, we need this movie. Give it to us. What are you even doing? And then you're like, okay, damn, fine, just take the film, fine. And that is exactly what happened. So, and then, Rotimi talking about, oh, okay, we should not do ambitious films and stuff like that. You have to do those ambitious films because how do you know how well you can do it unless you try? And then when you try, you fail. Eventually, you get it right. It's part of the process. Things like this are good because the filmmaker can enter the group. He can listen to what is being said. He can say, okay, man, people know to feel this film like that. Okay, let me change my ways and let me see how well I can do it the next time. But the experience you get from this is what you put into the next one. And that's how you make better movies. And I remember everyone screaming, oh, Blood Sisters, so amazing. Blood Sisters, we love it. Do you guys know the stress that went into Blood Sisters? I know the guys that worked on Blood Sisters, they suffered. Not that they suffer like because, every time they did the movie, every time they did an episode, they would change something, they'll send it back. Sound has to do it again. Music has to change, send it back again. They worked on it over and over again to get it to the point where it was good. And you watch Hollywood movies and say, hey, Hollywood, you guys did this thing like this now. You hear how many times they do reshoots. You hear how many times they do what you call it, focus group. And then they say, oh, the group, they didn't respond well to this scene. And then you redo the scene. We don't have that in Nollywood. And there's no Nollywood filmmaker that I feel would have had enough experience in Nollywood and would actually come and say, hey, man, you guys should just do better. There's no doing better when you've gone to borrow 30 million naira to do your film. Your EP is already on your neck. And then you've got to borrow another 20 million from another EP that is on your neck. And the exhibitor is telling you bring the film. And then you are going to let the sound guy that is doing the scene and the volume level hasn't matched well and he hasn't put enough reverb on the footsteps. You're going to let that stop your money. They're like, nigga, give me my film. Let me submit it. Let me get my money. Let me get these people off my back. it's a jungle out here. I'm not saying that it makes it okay. It doesn't. And then it brought to me also mention that, oh, this film is not for, you are making film for international audience. This film was not made for the international audience. Blood Sisters was made for the international audience, and they knew they were making it for the international audience. That's why they took their time. This film was made for cinema, Nigeria cinema. Like, okay, cinema, let's do it, go get our money, leave. And that's what it was. So it's not like, oh, okay, people are just lazy, they don't want to work, they don't want to put the time and effort. That's an unfair characterization. And I'm not saying that we should just forgive Nollywood for all their shortcomings, but I'm saying that if you are a filmmaker, you should not be as harsh. You should be more understanding. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, at least temper your anger with a little bit of, realistic expectation. This is what happens. Okay. And that's all. I don't want to talk too much. I've already spoken long enough.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I just want to point a couple of things out. You actually spoke really well, but I do think it's strange because in your, I don't want to defend it, it does feel like you're running at least apologetics for it. And just from the film club's perspective, like a couple of things you mentioned, like maybe it wasn't made for the people who are on this space, and that's maybe that very much could be the case, but you can't have film club and then we come and start talking about other people's perspectives. We can only discuss our perspective. We're not saying this is the gospel truth. We're not saying this is a space where everybody, even filmmakers, can come on here and say what they think happened with what they think was going on with when they were watching it. Even in this space that you've come on, we've had conflicting views on several things. We don't even have. There's no one voice. There's no one authority. We just come in here and we discuss it. I mean, like I guess from your from your perspective, you're saying things are hard and stuff. I am saying I've seen Nigerian movies that I've really liked and they've done well, and they've done better on technical stuff. Again, even I mean, like I got pushback. I got pushback from my people on here because I said there's stuff with the sound here that the sound at its best here is some of the better work we've seen at its best. The problem with it is that it drops its inconsistency and they point out all the parts where the sound goes off and on and all of that, but we hear you. Filmmaking in Nigeria is difficult, but like that's not really. It might sound harsh, but that's not the audience's concern. It's just we can't do it. Like if we go to this, I don't know. Like film is the only thing where you go to buy the product. We are supposed to be concerned about the producers and what's going on. It's like that's not really.
I'm not defending it like it's okay, like the audience should ignore it. And for that comment, I was specifically talking about Rotimi, who I think has left because he's also a filmmaker. And I'm saying that if you've made films in Nigeria, it's not so you cannot. That's why you don't see filmmakers on here trashing other filmmakers because they know how James Bond it is. So I'm not saying that it's the audience that the audience should forgive it or the audience should not be mad. I'm talking about Rotimi specifically, who was very harsh in his criticism. As a fellow filmmaker, it is not something that one should just say so blazingly as if it's just like ABC. You get that's it. Not for everyone else in this group, to clarify.
Okay, fair enough. I want to do my own Rotimi apologetics here, where, like, again, if you come whilst we're doing the bad section of films, that you can get that point because, like, he also said a lot of things that he liked about the movie, and also what happens, especially for our main members of Nollywood Film Club. There are things that you see time and time again that after a while, like I promise you. Your patience starts to wear thin with some of the issues going on. Like it becomes much more difficult to go, oh, I understand this and understand that, and it's like, well, we're doing the same problem time and time again. Like, when is it going to end? It's like, people just keep on running out of time. Like, does no one care to resort to this. I know that there are problems, but again, we know also filmmakers in Nigeria who are actually doing good work. There are people that I'm sure, like most of our audience here have filmmakers that they will watch all their movies because they like their work. I don't know why those demons are not attacking them as much in their stuff, or I don't know, or if you think we just have faves for no reason. But like I guess the point is um, uh, that it's not everybody that it's attacking, and filmmakers get to say that as well, because filmmakers, if a filmmaker wants to say that, they get to say it because they're also part of the audience. And Rotimi will not excuse his work from being part of this. I tell you that as somebody who has communicated with him. So like he's very much fine for us to throw him to the sword if his work comes out in that kind of form. But that's it. But yeah, I want to say I take your point, but I guess I just disagree with that perspective. But we were doing general summaries. We have been going on for a bit. General summaries, guys. All right. Anka, general summaries, please. Let's try and make it relatively quick.
Okay, I'll be good. I'll be good, and I'll go for my general summaries, even though I want to say something else. But okay. Um. Yeah. So the movie. It is. The things I definitely think I like about this movie is it's very steep within like Nigerian culture, pop culture, and all that stuff. You have to know about Nollywood movies. You have to know about the references to like things that are popular in like Nigerian pop culture, popular culture, and stuff like that. And I think it's very good that the movie did that. And I like the sound, the things that they try to do with the sound, even though if they don't feel with it. So like, will I recommend this to a Nigerian? Sure. Will I go out of my way to recommend it to somebody who is not, maybe an African? Yes, I'll say, okay, watch it, but the sound is ridiculous. So about that, I will say that I will
All
give
right.
that recommendation.
Thank you, Inka.
I'm so sorry. Some people people spoke with honesty, and I am speaking with all honesty, and I am not even responding to some things. Right? It's my final summary. I will tell maybe an African who understands the situation of Nigeria filmmaking. Yeah, watch it. Just know that the sound is bad. That's what I would say. If there are other movies that you can probably watch the other movie. If you don't want issue with sound, that's my recommendation. It's not a bad movie. There are just some things that will hold it down. See, still watch it. No, that's it. That's my final thing.
All right. Thank you. All right, Cynthia, what's your general summary of general thoughts on this film?
Yeah, so I have to say general summary. I wanted to reply something. So in general summary, like I said, I admire that they had an idea of children of the water versus children of the soil, but I also think that it was not executed properly, and we had a sound issues. And yes, like I applaud them for the effort. Like I already said in my likes, anytime there's mommy water, there's rain. They did a lot of efforts with costume and everything. But in all, I felt like we needed a very good introduction that would tell us why we care about these two prince and princess. Maybe a very short introduction of their parents or something, how they died. Okay. And I recommend the movie to people. So I'm in Canada and most people here are not Nigerian. So no, I will not recommend it. And that's because it took me 6 hours to finish, and because I had a lot of questions and I felt it was a drag. So I will not recommend the movie.
All right. Thanks, Cynthia. Mel?
Okay, so my summary is that magic is such a fun topic. It's such an expansive topic as well. the way that our superstitions are a part of our culture, and they don't always have to be approached in fear. And I really liked that this movie did not approach these things in fear. It just presented them as is. There were parts of it that were incredibly intense for that reason, because you're dealing with something that isn't realistic. So you get that escape that movies should be, right? So there's parts of it that felt intense. The stakes were high. The stakes were clear as well. I agree with everyone else that the execution failed, or suffered. I don't know what the right word is. I didn't understand it at the end. I had a lot of questions that the movie said to me, oh, let sleeping dogs lie. And I don't want to. I don't know. This is what I'm hung up on. Because legit, for real. Bobby's character was like, oh, when did you, how did you? And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And then she's like, oh yeah, just forget about it. I'm like, I don't want to forget about it. I don't know why that was a decision that was made film wise. I don't agree with it. So I left feeling very, I don't know. It's what you said, right? We watch Nollywood every week, and we show up here and we talk about Nollywood every week. And everything is starting to feel like a blur. The lightning is looking like every other lightning we've seen. The audio sound like every other audio you've heard. Um, it's I left feeling meh, not because I shouldn't feel dissatisfied or unfulfilled or confused or anything. I just left feeling meh because I'm used to feeling these things every week, if that makes any sense. So I don't know what I think about it. I think that I really enjoyed the premise of magic. I want to see more magic on my screen. But that's the most that I can tell you, honestly.
Okay, thanks. No, fair enough. I guess Ava, you don't want to give overall thoughts. Elizabeth.
My overall thought about this movie is I think that this is a potentially good parody movie. Because personally, I feel like parody comedy is very superior to every other form of comedy because it takes a lot of art to borrow stereotypes from different movies and literature or general pop culture and put it into one. And I do not think we've ever done any form of parody movie in this country. So I see the potential in this movie. And I think that the dialogue in the script, I think that this is one of the things that work for me. Although the comedy didn't land while acting, and this is from our main actor himself. But personally, I feel like because every single time I see some of the lines, I think it was genius level. Well, considering the way we've been, because in Nigeria, we are very much predisposed to the caricature physical comedy, but this is a far more superior, and I would love the filmmaker to keep experimenting, especially this line, because honestly I loved it. I just didn't think it landed because I didn't feel the comedic timing from Bobby himself, and I do not know if this is him acting or the directing style, honestly. But I could see that there was a gap in the energy that I got from every other person. Because first, I feel like when you're making a parody, I know a lot of people have said it's not a parody, but I do believe this is a parody movie because it is not a coincidence. It's not referencing movies. It's blatantly just borrowing stereotypes and moving along with it, which is what parody is. Not all parody is mocking, is a form of mocking this thing. This is not mocking, this is just borrowing stereotypes and running with it. And I think it is a genius level form of comedy personally. um will I recommend it to somebody else? Definitely. Again, personal bias to parody comedies, I love it. It's a niche, maybe not be everybody's cup of tea. I would recommend it, but again, the comedy didn't land, especially when it came from Bobby himself. But every other person pulled their weight. So if you can look past his acting and just focus on the dialogue and the lines, because the lines, I think they were amazing. For me, that's what sealed it for me. So yes, I do enjoy this, but I do not enjoy that the comedy sometimes didn't land. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. Scarecrow. Scarecrow, you there? If you're there, your summary.
Okay, yeah. So my summary about the movie is generally I would jumping straight. If I would recommend the movie because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. It was fun. Even as I said when you initially tweeted about having the space, I said I enjoyed the movie even though the story was a bit chaotic. But I enjoyed the movie because I had a good time watching it. Yes, there are some parts it fails on. We mentioned it, the audio, some continuity, proper linkage of the story, of the script. But other than that, it's a really good it's a good movie. And like the last speaker said, in fact, if I have viewpoint that made me actually see the concept of the movie being a parody and the reference to different movies and cultures, and that's something that because I've watched a lot of Nollywood movies, especially when growing up and during my teen years, and it's not something we've done. It's not an area we've delved into, and to have done it and pull it off to this extent, I'm actually impressed. So I would definitely recommend. I'll recommend it to anyone who loves to watch Nollywood, who loves to watch Nigerian movies, who's interested. So I'll recommend it. So it was a good movie. There's room for there's room for improvement. There's room for improvement. So generally, yeah. So if I were to give it a score, for it to be fair, I'd give it a 6.5. 6.5 over 10. Out of 10. 6.5.
All right, thank you, Scarecrow. Otas?
Um, I thought the writing was good. I thought it was funny. Parts of it were funny. I do wish that uh, we hadn't used, I guess, the lead we did. I think that's kind of where a lot of it starts to fall apart. Um, I wouldn't watch it again. I guess if I was with people and we're all really stoned and just needed something to laugh at, I'd watch it again then. But that's kind of where it lands for me.
All right, thanks, Otas. Mrs. C, do you want to give us your summary?
Yeah, I think the premise was really interesting. I think there was something that not just interesting, it was fun. I think the premise was fun. I think some of the experience was fun, and I'm not even overly fussed about because I really was willing to let a lot of things go. Um, I really was willing to let a lot of things go. I think it's just my major qualm with it is the fact that so many plot points fall apart with just 10 seconds of scrutiny. And that's actually my key problem with it. Every other thing I can let slide. Would I recommend? I would recommend it to some people with the caveat of don't think about it, just try to enjoy it. That's the caveat I would recommend it with.
All right. And I guess from my perspective, this is just something for whatever reason, and I agree with a lot of the pushback. Like I mentioned when we were doing the bad section, a lot of the things that I liked, I understand that some of the times they were in parts, but I just really, for whatever reason, I like this movie. I do. It has a lot of problems, but it's funny in a way that I really want us to start writing more comedies. Like I think somebody spoke the other day about comedies before, like leaving sort of like just physical. Hey, look at me making funny faces or shouting really loudly. Am I not funny? Try to be funny in a different way, more mature style. And I do have a Bowie bias, I guess. So part of the recommendation would also, I think, if you like Bowie's general material, you at least enjoy this, at least in parts. But I'm with everybody in terms of the story. The story is just quite
quite a mess, to be honest. But yeah, for whatever reason, I enjoyed it. I'm still undecided whether I like it because of just the attempt at trying something new and fresh, and in some ways succeeded in what it was trying to do, or if I'm just like, oh, it's not quite failing in the same way that other things have failed. I don't know. But there are some good filmmaking aspects. I think somebody talked about lighting. I think this has different lighting type. I remember red being used in a particular room. I was like, all right, yes, okay. Well, this definitely has more variety in the way it does. It tells a story, even with like the sound design, the echoing of people's voices and stuff throughout. Now, yes, people people are very pissed off about this sound, and I feel you guys, but I guess it didn't bother me as much after all of the things I've been through in Nollywood audio. And also I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think the sound at its best is closer to what I really want us to do in Nollywood, in terms of the way it was processed. But thanks everybody. Was my village people. This is Nollywood Film Club. We did it. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Hello, Kamisi. Go on.
I think not for me. Okay. I think I want to see more stories like these, more authentic stories like my village people. I want to see stories that that play out our culture, our beliefs, our myths, our mythology very well without trying to be like Hollywood. So I really loved the movie for that, because that was what kept me going. Even though the story was whack, but that was what kept me going. That kept me to the end, because visually it's beautiful. So more stories like that, and I want to applaud everyone that worked on that. On the production, that they really did well. Apart from the story, they really did well. So I would actually recommend the movie to anyone who is not Nigerian. I would actually do, but I would just like be like explaining a few things to them. Don't take it seriously. That's our own comedy. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Laura Kamisi. Thanks everybody who joined. This is Nollywood Film Club. We do this every week. We have an open spot for next week. I don't know what film we're going to be discussing, but I'll probably put a poll up for what film we'll be going on about. But if you're new, join us next week. We do it Sundays, 6:00. If you're looking for some new films to watch on Netflix, I recommend The Lost Tukarishi, Kasala, and King of Boys. I don't think that's still on. Anyway, but thanks guys. Thanks for all our speakers. Shout out to all our listeners. Thanks, Ava, coming to give us pushback. Actually kind of like pushback as well. But the point's well taken. Thanks guys. I will see you next week, and take care. Thanks, Mrs. T, for covering for me. Thanks for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed listening and would like to join live, just follow us on Twitter at Iroko Critic and join us every Sunday, 6 p.m. West African time on our spaces.